What's up, Terry? Andrew? One man, white shirt. What's up? Guarded Citadel. Execrate. What's up? What's up? So it's kind of a ghost town here at UCR right now. Yeah, I'm assuming it has to do with the summer break. I didn't really do any research on, when classes start and when they end. So I just hope that, you were gonna see students here, but it's kind of a ghost town, so it might be a slow stream for sure. I mean, hopefully we could get at least one, right? But yeah, for the most part, it's like, I would say less than 10% of the students that I usually see. So you could get an idea. Yeah, let me show the setup and then you guys could see. Oh yeah, my usual spot here was also taken too, so. Nice question. Is the weather always good here? Mostly, yeah. Can't really complain about the weather, when it's like, it's supposed to be really hot right now, but it's actually in the high 80s right now, which is actually not bad, compared to, considering that it's summer. It rarely, goes into triple digits here in the summer. If it does, it's only like a few days. For the most part, it stays in the low 90s, high 80s, But overall, the weather here, it's a mid 70s, overall. So yeah, I can't complain. I work in moving, so a lot of people even say, the weather can't beat the weather here. People come to LA from, or California, you could say, Southern California, from Florida, from Washington, from Oregon, from all these different places, and they all say, you can't beat the weather here. So one of the reasons why it's so populated, in my opinion, obviously. Even though the rent and the cost of living here is so high, and it's obviously due to the fact that, people like the weather here, so when people want to move to a certain area, best believe that the cost of living is also going to go up. It's like supply and demand, same thing with property, supply and demand. Sorry? How long am I? Oh, you asking for the time, or? I'm gonna be here for about 2 hours. Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. We'll see you soon, hopefully. What's up, man? You want to give this a shot?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, first question, obviously, are you smarter than a 5th grader?
Probably not.
Nah, I'm pretty sure you are, man. Trust me, I think you are. So, I have 3 very easy questions, and see if you could get at least 2 of the 3.
All right.
Very easy. So, and they all have to do with water.
Okay.
So, elementary physics, very easy. So here I have 3 water bottles, and I painted the water blue with food coloring just to make it easier to see the water. But how I'm showing them to you, these 3 water bottles. By the way, another thing to take note is that all of these bottles are at rest, right?
Yes.
So what's the difference, how I'm showing them to you, between these 3 water bottles?
The orientation of the bottle.
Oh, you got it.
Yes.
Can you put them in the correct orientation? Or I guess what will be right side up?
Right side up. Assuming that the foam is the bottom,
What would you assume that the foam is the bottom, if I may ask?
No reason, honestly. It's just, I guess.
I guess, okay. But you got it right. It is the orientation of the bottle. That's the difference. But can you tell? Can you put them in the same orientation? I guess all of them in the orientation they should be.
Yeah.
I guess that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, no, I was just assuming that this is the one that is... Well, this is obviously on its side. What side, I don't know. From the orientation of the bottle, it's hard to tell.
I'll give you a hint. When you have air and water in a bottle, what direction does the water go always?
It goes down.
Okay.
Yes.
So based on that fact...
This is like this.
Okay.
This could be... If the foam is the top, it would be like... If the bottom's this way, so it would be like this, and then this way would be like this.
Right, you got it. Yeah, you got it.
The top. Yeah.
But here's the thing, though. No, but the foam's... The thing is that the
foam the bottom.
Yeah. Well, the foam's not going to tell you anything about the orientation. What's going to show you is the water.
Yes.
Because obviously, if you're looking at a water bottle like this, you know water doesn't behave like this. You know water doesn't fill the bottle from left to right.
Yes.
You know, and it doesn't maintain that. You know, and obviously this one also, you know, water doesn't stick to the top and the air rests on the bottom. That's impossible. You know, that defies physics, you know.
Yes.
So obviously the water is what shows us the correct orientation, air and water. You know, water's always on the top and air is always in the bottom. I mean, water's always in the bottom and air is always on the top. Yeah. Would you agree? Yeah.
Yes.
Pretty simple, right? Okay. You got that one. So this next one is similar. I'm gonna tell you the difference between these three, but I just want to see if you could tell me which one's which. So in this one, I have a truck and it's halfway filled with water. And the differences in these is that one of them is at rest, one of them is accelerating forward, and one of them is accelerating in reverse. So if I was to ask you which one is at rest?
At rest, accelerating forward, accelerating backwards.
You got it. How did you know that, if I may ask?
At rest, it will be level. Accelerating forward, the water's going to push back. That's why in water trucks there are gates.
Yeah.
Same reason why it's moving forward.
You got it, man. You're pretty smart. That's pretty good. Yeah. So obviously, what could be what would be your definition of when water's level and contained? How would you describe the water? You said it right now, level.
Yeah, level.
What could be your definition of level? I guess, if I may ask, when water's contained and at rest.
Level, just flat, I guess. Yeah.
The correct definition, one-word definition, will be horizontal.
Yes.
Because level, again, has no deviation in elevation from any given point. Again, a horizontal surface, which is perpendicular to the vertical. Another definition for level, perpendicular to the vertical, right? So, yeah, you got the second one pretty easy. So the last one is actually even easier. Because we understand how water behaves when it's contained and at rest. Which one of these two represents level as we know it when it comes to the water? A or B, once it's contained and at rest.
When it's contained in
at rest.
And a container.
In a container, exactly.
None of these actually. Because when the water's in a container, it kind of bubbles up slightly. As you can see, that here it is kind of beveling on the side.
Okay. You're talking about like when you fill up a bottle all the way to the rim and it kind of...
Even here. So you can see there's a little edge right here.
Okay.
And it goes down, and this is actually where the water level is. This is just where the water is kind of reaching up.
Okay. Let's say we had a pool that was a mile long, for example. Pool, and the water's in there contained and at rest. Which one of these two will represent the pool, in your opinion?
This would be closer for the pool.
Closer for the pool?
Yes.
Do you agree? Yeah, obviously. Because again, water doesn't have a form. Yes. It always collapses and forms an equal surface, which is level, which is horizontal. So yeah, this is obviously the answer, how water behaves. And the water shows us that. So the real reason I'm doing this is because over 95% of the population, including myself and maybe you, have been tricked to believing this is what level means, even though we know it's this and water shows us that. You want to know how we were tricked? Do you believe the Earth is a ball like this, for example?
Yes.
In outer space? Yeah, so these are official NASA images, and they're 10 years apart. This one's from 2002 and this one's from 2012. And they admit that they don't have a genuine photograph of the Earth as a ball. So they admit that all of these images they show us are all CGI.
I know. These are edited.
Yeah,
the Earth isn't a perfect sphere.
Exactly. So these are what NASA shows us, though. This is what they depict the Earth is. And they actually admit they don't have a genuine photograph of the Earth from space. So if I was to ask you, why do you think that is?
The reason is because these just look prettier.
So why can't they take a full photograph of the Earth from space in that question?
Well, they have some. It's just that they edit them because these look prettier. Most people don't want to see the world as a oblong shape because the world is kind of I think if I remember correctly, it kind of bows out towards the top of.
Well, to the side in the equator. They say the equator bulges out.
Yeah, and then it's kind of because of impacts that the world has kind of dented in a little bit as well.
Okay, sure. So again, NASA claims to have satellites orbiting the Earth, so they need to know the radius of Earth, the radius of orbit, if they're supposedly claiming the radius of Earth.
Yes.
So they do tell us the radius of the Earth is 3,959 miles, which means there has to be curvature every mile, and every mile it has to increase. So again, if we went out to a giant body of water to physically measure for this curvature, they're trying to tell us, like a lake, for example, they're trying to tell us that the surface of that lake is bending 6 feet in 3 miles, for example, and 66 feet in 10 miles. So that's like a 6-story building over a 10-mile, across. So again, physics is going to show us that that's impossible because water doesn't have a form. It cannot maintain a shape on the surface. It always collapses and forms again a horizontal surface. But they're trying to tell us that to deny our experience and deny our common sense and believe that water has the ability to maintain a curve when it's contained in at rest. But that defies physics. That's like claiming you can walk on water, but that defies physics, obviously. So this will be the #1 experiment to debunk the ball Earth claim of physical measurement of the Earth. Water in specific, because they're trying to tell us that the oceans are bending around a ball. But I don't know if you've heard of the term sea level.
Yes.
So again, sea level meaning horizontal, meaning the oceans are are basically continents are just across the way. They're not bending and going under a ball. So if I was to ask you respectfully, what's the #1 proof that makes you believe that the Earth is a ball?
Just general physics.
May I ask in specific what physics?
The law of centrifugal motion. We can kind of write out in mathematical terms how the water is sticking to Earth.
Okay, so you're talking about like the redefining of level, because you know that they redefine level on paper to explain away how level works on a globe, and the definition is equal distance from the center to the outer circumference of a sphere. So that's how they refine level on a globe. So it's equal distance from the center to the outer circumference. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So that would make a perfect sphere, equal distance, but that contradicts their oblate spheroid claim, if that's what they're redefining as level. So that's a contradiction right there. But again, if we go to physics and just go with what we know, again, water can bend. That's an impossibility. It doesn't matter how large you make the container, the surface will never bend. You can make it 10 miles long, make it 20 miles. So every dam, lake, anything that has a body of water that's contained, the surface is always going to be.
Water can bend.
I mean, when it's being poured out.
Bending right
oh yeah,
now.
It has to be contained though. Oh, you're talking about
Yeah, it's bending right now.
But it has to bend at this rate over the distance they're telling
there's a lot
us.
more water, but even on a small scale, you can tell that the water is
Even
bending.
even if I gave you that it's millimeter, because I see it perfectly level, but you want to say it's bending slightly up on the sides all
I
the
forgot
way
what the
around.
exact term is because I learned it in the exact term in high school.
So you're saying because it is a slight bend here that proves to you that the Earth is a ball?
Yeah, well, it shows that water can bend. So
Okay.
that refutes your claim that water can't bend immediately because the water is bending here.
Well, the claim again, it's the radius that they're giving us. There has to be 6 feet of curvature in 3 miles. There's no going around. This is geometry,
Yes.
based on the radius and the dimensions of the Earth that we're being told. There has to be a 6-foot gap between a level structure and the surface of the water in 3 miles. But if we actually build the level structure over a body of water, the distance is going to be equal all the way through, because again, water will not bend down and stick to a ball. That defies physics, as we know.
Well, no.
So-
Because even if you wet a ball, right?
Yeah,
So what we can do to test this is wet a ball.
sure.
Then attach that ball to a string. Once that ball is wet, spin the ball. Just go as hard as you can.
Right.
Stop, and then hold the ball. Touch the ball. If it's still damp, that shows the water can stick.
Oh yeah, I agree. Very small amounts of water does. Even when I take a shower, water sticks to me. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. But a large body of water, we're talking, thousands and thousands of gallons. A large body of water
way
contained.
larger. There's a abundance of water.
So let me ask you this then. So you're justifying this curvature rate just because there's might be millimeters of.
Well, this is taking into account that we're moving really fast, and Earth is massive compared to you and I.
You talking about the radius? Or?
Oh, no. The water sticks to Earth because it's so massive. And because it's so massive and moving so fast through our galaxy, the water is sticking on through centrifugal motion.
Okay.
The same reason why a water will stick to a ball, and the same reason why water is sticking kind of up on the bottom.
Okay.
Why it's reaching up.
You're saying that you're comparing the ball, like the water sticking to the ball, the earth, I guess.
Yes.
Using due to centrifugal force, like when you spin water in a bucket.
Mm-hmm.
So the earth is not like a bucket. The earth is not a ball. Is not a container.
Well,
so
not like water in a bucket. Water on a ball.
If you spin water on a ball, does the water stick to it, or does it go in every direction? Let me show you a quick.
Because you have to add the water in scale.
Yeah.
If you add a drop of water, that won't stick because it is way larger than what you would see on Earth. You'll never see something like a drop on here, because a drop on here would be something like the size of the United States.
Okay. Well, this is what happens when you spin a ball with water.
That is
the water flies out in every direction.
That is a lot of water. That is way more water than is on Earth by scale.
By scale. Okay, even if it was. So you're saying that. So
that'd be another Earth-sized amount of water, which is not possible on Earth. It'd be like if water reached out past the United States.
Right.
Or if.
So you know the depth of the ocean is what you're saying then?
Well, I forgot the exact number, but
you know the deepest humans have ever gone in the oceans, allegedly?
Mm-hmm.
It's only 8 miles, which is not even scratching the surface.
I don't believe that is true, actually, because the Mariana Trench is deeper than that, and we've gotten about halfway through.
It's probably less than that, because again, you could look this up, but again, and same thing on Earth.
Yeah.
The deepest we've ever drilled is 8 miles as well.
That is true for 8 miles because it gets too hot.
Yeah, exactly. So the ocean is actually the pressure increases too high that obviously you can't.
Oh no, but we've gone way farther than 8 miles.
All right. Well, again, physics. Again, if we went to any giant body of water, again, the surface will never bend. The horizon. Another thing about how would you describe the horizon? This is 20 miles in the sky. How would you describe the horizon geometrically?
That horizon is flat.
Exactly. I would say the word horizon comes from the word horizontal.
Yes.
So it will be impossible for the horizon to be horizontal and rise to eye level if we were on a ball and we elevate up. So the horizon, again, it should never rise in front of you, and that's what geometrically happens, which will be impossible on a globe as well. All right. And then the number one proof, believe it or not, I know water is one of the top proofs, but believe it or not, a lot of people think gravity proves the globe. The irony is gravity actually debunks the globe.
How so?
Okay, so gravity, and you know that when you accelerate a bottle with water, the water goes towards the back and pushes towards the front, right?
Yes.
Exactly. That happens every time you accelerate or apply a force. So I don't know if you knew, when you release an object into free fall, there's actually no force acting on it. Are you familiar with Einstein's theory of relativity?
Yes.
Yeah, so he acknowledges that there's no force acting on a free body, on a free falling object.
Yes,
so he came up with the bending and warping of space. And the reason why is because when we accelerate, when you release an object into free fall, the fact is the Earth is not pulling it towards the ground. Yes. What's happening is the Earth is actually pushing up. So you're not being pulled towards the Earth is pushing up against you. So force only exists as a push.
There are multiple vectors of force, though. There is a force of gravity pushing down, and there's a force of the Earth pushing up.
But that contradicts the fact that there's no measurable force in free fall.
No, that doesn't. Because if you're in free fall, right, there is no acting force on you. You're in air. Sure. Other than gravity. In a perfect vacuum, there is no force acting on you. But we're not in a perfect vacuum. We're in, obviously, I can touch air around me.
Exactly,
I can feel
exactly.
it. So we're not in a perfect vacuum. On Earth, there is a natural force, which is pushing up, and there is a force of gravity pushing down. There's the reason why we have the ability to jump, but we don't go through Earth, and we don't fly away.
Okay, so you're saying, so a pulling force is what you're saying gravity is, right? What you would say?
Yes.
Okay, so this is why I say pull as a force doesn't exist, is only a description of direction. Push is the only force that exists. I'm going to explain to you why. So if you want to, inanimate matter cannot move on its own. Would you agree? It requires an external force to move matter. Matter cannot move on its own.
Yes,
right?
That's true.
Exactly.
It requires some sort of
Exactly. So if I wanted to move this phone, I have to push it in that direction. If I want to move it, this, I have to push it in this direction. In any direction, I have to apply pressure.
Yes.
So again, exactly. So if you're talking about pull, how can pull as a mechanism move an object without applying pressure, which is a push?
Well, you can't. You need some kind of pressure.
Exactly.
You have to exert more force than what is being applied to it.
So the pulling force of the Earth that we're taught in school, a pulling force, this gravitational field doesn't exist. So the only force that exists is the Earth's motion pushing up against you.
Well, no, because even with that, right?
Yeah.
The reason why it is stationary right now,
Yeah.
well, we can consider it
Yeah,
stationary,
yeah.
is because
Relative to the Earth,
there
yeah.
is a force applying to it that's pulling it down.
No, it's the Earth pushing up against it. That's the reverse.
The reason why you have
Sure.
to push it
Right.
is because you have to push harder than the force that's being currently exerted on it. You have to push past the friction that gravity is applying to it.
Yeah.
It's like, so I forgot that formula, but it's something like sine, cosine, something with sine and cosine.
Right.
But this is a stationary object.
Yeah.
I'm applying more pressure than whatever the friction is,
Yeah, I agree.
and it's moving.
Exactly. Push, being a push.
Yes.
How can you pull this right now?
Oh, I can't pull it right now. Well, I can pull it right now because I can just do this.
But you applied pressure on it. That's
Oh yeah,
push.
I'm applying pressure down.
Again,
But if I had a string attached to this, I can pull it this way.
But that string has to be applying pressure as well. You have to make like a little
Oh yes,
hole.
no, yeah, it is applying pressure.
That's my point. Pull, let's say you have a door handle. When you pull something, you're technically pushing it towards you, but we say pull. When
Yes.
something is pushed again towards you, towards the observer, it's called, we call it pull, but the mechanism is still pressure, it's still push.
Yeah.
So the only force that exists on, in nature is push. In order for something to move, something else has to move it. So again, this gravitational field that we're being told doesn't exist because when you release an object, it's not the object accelerating towards the ground. Again, it's the Earth coming up to meet it. So it's the Earth's motion that's pushing up. So another way we know that the force is up and not down is, an accelerometer? Have you ever heard of it?
Yes.
Yeah. So every cell phone, you could download the app, has an accelerometer. You could download an accelerometer app. And what that accelerometer app does, it detects acceleration. So if you're holding the phone this way, for example, and you accelerate in any axis, up, down, left, right, it's going to register that force, that acceleration. Guess what happens when you put it into freefall? It registers 0 acceleration, showing you that there is no force accelerating objects towards the ground. So again, gravity is not a pull of the center of the Earth. It's the Earth moving upwards, pushing up against you. So if we could prove that that's the case, and it's the Earth pushing up against us and not being pulled down, how would that work from a globe? If it's the Earth pushing up, meeting the objects, moving up, it wouldn't work from a globe. That would mean the Earth will have to either be expanding or it would just explode, basically. So again, this whole idea of gravity, that's why gravity as a pulling force is always going to be a theory. I don't know if you knew, gravity is a theory.
Well, yeah,
They haven't physically measured this gravitational force.
as any concept in science is a theory.
Well, not everything, because science is a method of proving things. It's measurable, testable, and repeatable. So I can test that steel is stronger than wood through the scientific method by putting it into practice. So we could prove that steel is stronger than wood. And I can prove that humans cannot breathe water because humans would drown if they breathe water. So these are very basic fundamental facts of our reality. And force, again, how force works is pretty basic as well, being a push. So let me ask you this. Is there a possibility that we have been lied to about the nature of the Earth, or are you 100% convinced that it is a ball?
Oh no, I'm 100% convinced.
And what convinces you that it is a ball?
From what I know of science and the other heavenly bodies that we have.
What do you know of science again? Because I kind of missed it, I guess. If you can
Oh, sorry.
reiterate.
I'm a bioengineering student.
Okay, so what
Yeah.
about science that physically shows you that it is a ball?
Uh,
Because you said centrifugal force, which
force,
it doesn't.
the law of orbits, Einstein's laws themselves.
So orbits require gravitational pull, right? And again, being a theory. And again, if it's the Earth pushing up against you, then how do you have orbits? You can't. Again, the whole idea of outer space is all fueled by this theory of gravity of being a pulling force. But the fact is, again, Earth is not pulling things down. It's just moving up. And again, when you release an object, let's say hypothetically, nobody knows the speed of the Earth because nobody's been outside of it. Let's say the Earth was moving at 1,000 miles an hour right now, and I'm holding it right now. Everything's moving at that same speed. As soon as something's not connected to the Earth anymore, it starts to lose that speed. So that's why it only appears to go down, but it's us that's coming up to meet it. The ground and everything else that's attached. So it's, moving up to meet it. So that's why this never accelerated down. It's the Earth that came up to meet it. And that's what physics shows us.
So what you're saying is that we're constantly moving up.
Exactly. Yeah, the Earth is constantly moving up. Exactly. It's a constant speed too. It's not accelerating. Because that's what they try to misrepresent the motion of the Earth by claiming that it's accelerating. That would mean that our weight will have to be increasing as well, which is not. Our weight is constant, meaning that the Earth's motion is constant.
Well, if we're accelerating, our weight would have to be decreasing.
It will be increasing. Yeah, because when you apply more pressure to an object, that because of inertia, it's going to increase that resistance the more you push. Exactly. So our weight will be increasing because of inertia.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah. But again, another test that shows that it's the Earth pushing up is when you release a helium balloon, what direction does it go?
It goes up.
And why do you think that is?
Because helium is lighter than air.
Yeah, and what about the air being heavier that pushes the helium up?
Well, the nitrogen content.
What about the nitrogen content? What creates the motion, I guess?
As an element, nitrogen is just denser than air.
Okay.
And nitrogen is denser than helium.
But why doesn't it push it left, right, down? Why does it push it up? It is more dense,
Because,
I agree.
just like a ball, like the ball pictures that you had, like balls floating on water, it just goes the direction where it is least resistance, and up is the direction of its resistance.
Okay, so let me show you this real quick. Just real quick before you go. I know.
But also, they do go, balloons will go horizontally if there's wind applied, because the horizontal pressure.
Would you agree because of buoyancy, right?
Yes,
buoyancy.
Yes.
Did you know that buoyancy is a force?
Yes, buoyancy
Exactly.
is a force, yes.
So I recreated buoyancy in a container, a cargo van. And again, the more dense material pushes on the less dense material only when the container's in motion. And here, let me show you. So here I have a helium balloon, it's pink. And then I have an apple, obviously it's red. But I accelerated the van in this direction, in this one. And obviously, we see the helium balloon gate push in that same direction. Why? Because it's less dense in the air. So what happened was when I accelerated the van, the back of the van, the solid door, started pushing the air because, again, the air wants to remain where it's at. And what that did is created a pressure gradient in that direction of the force because I accelerated in that direction. So what happens is the air, because it's more dense than the helium, it also pushes the helium in that same direction. Because buoyancy, it's an effect of a force, or in other words, an effect of a contained system that's in motion. That's what buoyancy is.
Yes, but the air in this case is moving backwards.
Well, it appears to move backwards because the van is moving forward. The air wants to remain still.
It's not that it's appearing to move backwards. It is moving backwards.
So you think the apple's moving backwards too?
Yeah. If this is the way you're going, the apple would be moving this way.
Well, it's only apparent because the camera is also moving with the van. But if you're looking at it from the outside, the apple wants to remain in the same position in space. It's just the whole system move forward, but the air's not dense enough to push the apple.
But just like the apple, the air is moving with the apple in the same direction. Helium is lighter, so it's moving when all this air pushes this way. The pressure of that air pushes the helium balloon this way.
And what's pushing the air? The van.
The
van.
Yeah.
The container that's in motion, exactly.
Yeah.
So when we let a helium balloon here on Earth, the air's pushing it in that direction. What's pushing the air?
The air is kind of just here.
So the air's not moving up to push the helium up?
Well, I guess air is constantly moving up, but it's just kind of dense.
So how can the air be moving?
Settling.
How can the air be moving up if gravity's pulling it down? Supposedly, that's where gravity is just a theory. The only force is up. And I can show it. And I've shown this with different states of matter. So air bubble and water. Again, I push it. The air is less dense than the water, the air bubble, and it gets pushed in that same direction. I accelerated the container. That's what buoyancy is. It's an effect of a contained system that's in motion. Because again, the air and water cannot push itself to be able to push something less dense. It's a chain reaction, and it all starts from the Earth's motion. So again, gravity, it's a push, not a pull. And again, it would debunk the globe entirely because you can't have a globe expanding in all directions. That's retarded. No offense, but again, the irony: a lot of people think gravity proves the globe. The fact is, gravity actually debunks the globe. And that's why it's the number one thing they teach us in school, and it's in every movie and every TV show. It's part of the indoctrination for everybody to accept that objects are accelerating down, and the fact is, it's the Earth moving up. And that's why flat Earth is one of the biggest psyops as well, because over 95% of flat earthers and almost all content creators that do flat Earth content all claim the Earth is motionless. So now they're pleading for a magical force that can accelerate objects down and up at the same time, which defies physics. You can't have something moving in opposite directions at the same time. You know what I'm saying? How can an apple fall down and a helium balloon push up? That's two opposite forces in opposite directions. That's retarded. The fact is the Earth pushing up, and the air is not dense enough to push an apple up, so it only appears to go down. But the apple wants to just remain still. Again, matter just wants to remain motionless. That's part of inertia, and it requires an external force to move it. The force is the air. Again, it being dense enough, it could push anything that's less dense, like helium, hot air, smoke. But anything that's more dense, goes down. But before you go, do you have any questions for me? I know.
No.
I kept you here for a bit.
I know we've been talking for like 20 minutes.
No, yeah. Trust me, I go to USC, come here a lot.
Yeah.
I go to UC Irvine as well, because obviously, in my opinion, the education system is running away from this subject. They're not even touching it. So I'm having to come here and present basic facts, basically to try and, trying to have a conversation, because they're running from the conversation, professors, and all that. So I mainly go to universities, again, just to challenge the current narrative. But yeah, here's my channel if you want to give it a look. If you don't have any questions, I guess you could take that with you. I have plenty.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, man, anything before you go? I mean,
no, that's it. I'll look at your channel.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Thanks for the chat. Really appreciate it.
No problem.
Yeah.
All right, I gotta get to class.
All right, man. Take care. Yeah, you too. Oh man, that one was. Now, he kind of left me speechless a couple times with the claims he was making. Like, I don't know if you guys noticed, I was like a little speechless. But yeah, that's gonna be the second question, by the way. Here it is. Completely understood this. I didn't even get into the displacement part of it. You know, I just a lot of information that, you know, it's kind of hard to share in like 10-15 minutes. You know, so there's just so much that I wanted to share that I didn't even get to. You know, the water bottle, you know, and free fall versus acceleration. You know, but the fact that he understood this off the bat, you know, shows you that people understand how water behaves when it's contained and it's being accelerated. You know, he was even talking about how some trucks have how the water comes off. I haven't seen that personally, but it obviously has something to do with containing the water when it's being accelerated. They have to account for that, you know, because again, water is always going to displace under conditions of acceleration, you know. So that was a really good chat, I guess. So yeah, hopefully we get one more. That'd be cool. Yeah, it's mainly groups of students that are passing by. Mainly, like, I'm assuming high school students. Because it is summer, they're obviously touring the campus for people that want to come here, you know, and yeah. So, yeah, to be honest, I'm thankful that I got that one already off the bat. It was cool. Again, I'm really rusty, that's for sure. Like, I'm still not fully awake, even though it's already, oh my god, it's already noon. God damn. No, yeah, like obviously, like very small amounts of water stick to objects. Yes, I agree, because, and you know, something cannot dry. You know, it's part of getting, you know, when something needs to get dry, you know, it still has a little bit of moisture on it, you know, whatever. But he was basically justifying that little bit of moisture left, you know, to justify that, you know, large amount of water can stick to a ball, you know, so. Yeah, that's why, I mean, if people believe that, you know, it's like, it's kind of hard to like, you know, continue forward, you know, I guess, especially in that same subject. That's why I kind of had to change the subject a bit and go to like force and acceleration and, you know, the accelerometer. Because again, if people are kind of stuck in one way of thinking, you know, and you show them facts that contradict that, but they're still stuck, you're gonna have to try another angle, you know. Otherwise, you know, the conversation's not gonna go nowhere. So I'm glad that, you know, bringing up force and displacement and the accelerometer and buoyancy, in other words, what buoyancy actually is, kind of got his gears, you know, turning. And to be honest, you know, he was rebuttaling everything, right? Up until we got to buoyancy and what's the cost of buoyancy and what's required and all of this. Then he couldn't refute that. You know, he couldn't rebuttal that because, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you can recreate buoyancy, you know. You just have a container with air or water, put something that's less dense than the medium, and accelerate the container in any direction, and you'll see that the less dense material gets pushed by the more dense medium that's being contained. And that's the only way that you're able to recreate buoyancy and pressure within a medium. You know, because that's what we experience here on Earth. We experience, you know, when water's contained, we experience pressure in the water. You know, we experience pressure here on Earth with air as well. You know, showing you that it's being pushed. There's a force present. It's in motion. You know, so very simple. You know, water's the key. Again, when water's contained, it doesn't even have to be at rest. But just simply, when water's contained, it's always going to show you when the container's in motion. Why? Because there's going to be pressure that's going to be felt through the medium. It's going to be pressure that's going to be felt in the water when it's when the container's in motion, because it's being pressed in a particular direction. That's what pressure is. So again, water's not lying when it's showing you that there's a force and there's pressure creating the motion. You know, again, let's see if I have it right here. For example, when I'm holding the bottle, you can see that there is pressure. You know, the pressure, you know, that's why the water is pushing out of the bottle and the holes that I made in the bottom, showing you that there is pressure when I'm holding it. There is motion to the bottle, because I'm also moving, you know, with the earth, and, you know, in the bottle, it only appears that everything is stationary, but in actuality, again, water shows you that everything's in motion, or at least me and the earth that I'm connected to. You know, is showing you the direction of the force as well, because the water's being displaced down. The water's going down, or appearing to go down. The water's not going to the left, to the right, or up. You know, the water's appearing to go down when I'm holding it, showing you that the force is up, because the air's being pushed up. And as soon as I release the bottle, that upwards push, that pressure within the medium, you know, water in this case, completely vanishes. You know, the water's not being pushed out of the holes anymore, because it's not being compressed anymore. It's not in motion anymore. You know, there's not a force present. You know, so it just starts to lose momentum. You know, and again, water doesn't lie. Water is always going to show you, again, when there is a force present, when there is motion, you know, of the container. You know, and relative to the direction of the pressure gradient or buoyancy even, that's going to show you the direction that the container is moving, you know. So very simple, you know, water doesn't lie. You know, you could do the same thing with air in a container. You know, matter doesn't lie. Men do. You know, human beings lie. You know, that's a fact. You know, if anybody denies that human beings are liars, then you're completely lost. So matter doesn't lie. You know, reality is what it is. You know, so again, water's going to show you what's going on, what direction the container's accelerating, you know, everything. You know, when it comes to force, you know, water is you know, it measures force, it detects force. Let me be more specific. You know, when water's contained, it detects when there is a force present. You know, especially if you have two different fluids like gas and liquids, air and water. You know, they're always gonna displace or, you know, show you when there is a force or when there is motion present. You know, 100% of the time, always. You know, there's no breaking it. You can't break physics. You know, you can break people's claims about physics, especially if they can't, if they contradict what, you know, what physics is showing, especially, or they can't substantiate or they can't prove practically, you know, these claims. So you could break, you know, man's claims about reality, but you cannot break physics, you know, for what it is. You know, so again, I don't give a fuck what word salads you have, what, you know, drawings or models, right? You know, all this bullshit, you know, that doesn't matter. You know, if it contradicts reality and what we know and how physics, you know, behaves, how water behaves, then you're full of shit. You know, that simple. You know, what am I gonna trust? My common sense and how substance behaves, or man's interpretation of what they imagine is going on? Not only that, they have to invoke imaginary forces that are moving in opposite direction at the same time. Like what? It's going against itself, but it's still, you know, you would think it just cancels, right? Everything is just motionless, right? But no. It's going against itself, but it's still able to push objects up and down at the same time. Like, fucking retarded. Like, literally fucking retarded. Again, nothing personal, and this is not an attack on anyone. I'm just literally attacking the claims, you know? Again, it's not about subjectivity, you know, when it comes to objective inquiry, you know? Your feelings, your imagination, your opinions, all of that you know, you can stick it up your ass when it comes to objective facts. You know what I'm saying? It's literally that simple. Like, you know, if people are starting to get emotional, you know, and start denying reality, you gotta ask yourself, why are you denying reality and what it's showing you? You know, I was thinking about it, and it's like, you would think, right, especially these motionless flat earthers, right, you would think that the reason why they deny that buoyancy is an effect of a contained system that's in motion, right, you would think that the reason why they completely deny it and handwave dismiss it is because there is another explanation practically that can recreate, you know, pressure and buoyancy and invert it, right? You would think that there is another practical example to show, and that's why, you know, they're not buying into it, right? Well, I'm not committing or denying it or whatever. You would think there was something else. The fact is, there isn't. So where the fuck is this denial coming from? It doesn't make any sense, because again, you would think the way they act, you would think that they do have something else that's practical that can be demonstrated as well. And you know, and we can't say it's either or, because there's two practical examples that can recreate the same effects, right? I would be on the same boat. I would be like, holy shit, we can't say either or. So I can't commit to the motion of the earth or a imaginary force field, you know, because there's two practical examples. Well, in this case, it wouldn't be imaginary, right? But the fact is that only one is practically demonstrable. That's a contained system that's in motion, that gives you your buoyancy, that gives you your weight, again, and then obviously the resistance to the weight being inertia, that gives you orientation, it gives you a pressure gradient, it gives you a density gradient, it gives you all the effects that we're experiencing here on Earth with just one force in one direction. You can recreate all those effects easy, you know. You would think that that's like a light bulb moment for these, you know, motionless flat earthers, and also the fact that they don't have anything but words salad, which is no different than the globe, you know. So it's pretty bizarre, you know, to see, you know, just motionless flat earthers get stuck. You know, and in my opinion, I think speaking to stubborn people like that are already stuck in, you know, in believing that, like especially motionless flat earthers, in my opinion, I think it's better to speak to new people, like globe believers, over trying to convince motionless flat earthers, and I'm gonna tell you why. What's gonna be a much easier conversation, and by easier I mean a more logical conversation. I'm sorry. What's gonna be a more logical conversation with somebody that's just ignorant? In other words, they don't know, they just believe, right? They're just ignorant. Or with someone that's willfully ignorant, somebody that's just stubborn and just already heard about it but just keeps dismissing it, and they're just willful ignorant. Who do you think you're gonna have a better conversation with? With somebody that's just ignorant, or somebody that's willful ignorant? In my opinion, you're gonna waste your time with the one that's willfully ignorant, you know. And trust me, from experience, from morons in the comments, I can tell you that you're gonna waste your time with these people that are just willfully ignorant. You know, I get if you're ignorant, if you believe the globe and you've never spoken to someone like myself or Dell or someone else, and you just believe, you know, all the theories you were told, and you're just ignorant, again, because you know, it's not your fault. I guess you haven't heard of the other side of the argument, right? Or you know, so kind of lost my train of thought there a little bit, but you're gonna have a better conversation with somebody who's just ignorant, you know, in my opinion. And that's why I personally wouldn't really waste my time with any motionless flat earthers, or especially any content creators that preach the earth is motionless. You know, you're just gonna waste your time. A lot of these YouTube accounts online, they have agendas, you know, and pushing this motionless flat earth bullshit, which again defends the number one thing that destroys the globe, you know. If you haven't realized, you know, they have an agenda, so they're not gonna change their mind. You're not gonna change their mind, let me tell you that for a fact. The best thing to do is to ignore these motherfuckers, you know. It's literally, that's the best thing to do, is just to ignore them. Like, they're completely irrelevant. It doesn't matter how many fucking subs they have. It doesn't matter, you know, none of that. you know, how many views they get and all this bullshit. Like, you're better off ignoring the fuck out of people like that if you want to move forward. If you entertain these characters online, not only are you putting them on some kind of pedestal, like they're above everybody else, because why are they getting all this attention, right? Especially if they're fucking lying pieces of shit, you know? So the best thing you could do, in my opinion, again, is just ignore them. You know, they're irrelevant, not even worth mentioning, in my opinion. You know, they're the reason why this shit's stuck where it's at, why Flat Earth is such a mockery on the mainstream, is because of these channels, you know, and obviously globe channels as well. I'm not, you know, I'm not just gonna throw motionless flat earthers under the bus, but it's globe Earth channels and motionless flat earthers channels that are just talking shit now. They're in cahoots when it comes to objects accelerating in free fall, you know, which is the #1 thing that debunks the heliocentric model, and now they're just debating their ideas about what that is. So you have, again, theory of gravity, theory of mass attracting mass, you know, have all these theories of objects accelerating down in free fall. But the fact is, there is no physical downwards acceleration. Physically, provably, demonstrably, you know. So, yeah, I will be very weary when it comes to, you know, giving any attention to these big channels, you know, in my opinion. You're only feeding the propaganda at the end of the day, you know. That's my best advice to you. I know, you know, content nowadays sucks, you know, TV, you know, I get it. I get, you know, you're bored, you want to watch something, you know, believe it or not, giving these people views and attention, in my opinion, is not a good thing, you know. I personally, I don't really watch any mainstream flat earth channels. I tried watching some live streams of some smaller channels, and it's just, you know, honestly, the only one I can actually watch and actually enjoy watching is Dell. Why? Because he remains 100% objective. That's why. It's not because, oh, I idolize Dell, or, oh, he's you know, this guru. Like, no. None of that. He sticks to the facts, what you can actually prove. You know, he doesn't entertain bullshit. He doesn't entertain theories. He doesn't entertain none of that garbage that muddies the waters. You know, and that's great to see. And that's probably the only reason why, you know, he's like the only channel that I can actually watch the whole live, you know, like, you know, because again, he doesn't entertain bullshit, you know, and I like to do the same here. You know, again, it's about objectivity. It's not about your subjective preferences and who you are as a person and all this and how, you know, and your tone of voice and all this bullshit. Like, all of that is just there to discredit the messenger. Because obviously they can't discredit the facts. If they can't discredit the facts, then what do? They start attacking the messenger. If they could make the messenger look bad, then by default most people have this sheep mentality where, oh, well, if he's a bad guy, then anything he says must not be true either, or must be bad as well, or must be wrong, right? Because he's not genuine. He's an agent, or he's a shill, and all this bullshit. And it's like, again, if you're thinking that way and avoiding the content that's being presented, you have a sheep mentality. You don't have a mind of your own. You don't critically think for yourself. You just follow the herd. You read other people's comments, and whatever the majority of the comments say, that's where you put your attention to, and that's how you start to think now. So you're easily influenced by people's comments, by views, by subscribers, by all this bullshit, you know, and it's just pathetic. It just shows how weak-minded people actually are, you know. But yeah, like channels that entertain bullshit about astrology, for example, anything to do with history, you know, like entertaining all of that shit, in my opinion, is just muddying the waters, you know. And I'm gonna be honest, if I had a conversation with someone and they start to bring up history, you know, and start to bringing up, you know, just stories, you know, just subjectivity, you know, personal anecdotes, you know, stuff like that, like stuff that's not, you know, demonstrable, then I completely check out. I cannot stand fucking, I couldn't not sit through a conversation that's just about fucking theories and history and all, you know. It's just, I just couldn't. Like, it's crazy that, you know, that's what people kind of are into. Like, fuck, what does that say about you? Like that's crazy, man. I don't know, that's just my opinion, you know. I couldn't entertain a conversation about subjectivity, you know, for too long, or a religion for that matter, again, being subjective, you know. So yeah, that's just my opinion. I think it just muddies the waters. It actually clouds the true information that actually shows you what this reality is and what it's not, you know. Yeah, you could talk about the facts, right? But when you start talking about other bullshit and start entertaining other bullshit, you're muddying the waters, you know, with all this other bullshit, you know. You're literally muddying the waters and keeping people from the simplicity of how to debunk the globe, for example, you know, because it's so easy to debunk the globe, you know. So you got to ask yourself, why are all these bigger channels, for example, not hammering on those facts that debunk the globe, right? Why are they dancing around and talking about observations to the sun and long distance observations and observations is not a physical measurement of anything. So if you think you're physically measuring something just by looking at it, by doing long distance observations, if you actually think you're physically measuring something, you're a moron. That's simple, you know. Vision alone is not a physical measurement of anything, you know. So again, you got to ask yourself, why are these channels not focusing and hammering on the simple facts that debunk the globe, you know, empowering people with the tools, you know, to be able to articulate and demonstrate how a globe is impossible. You know, why aren't they doing that? If they did that, there will be hundreds, thousands of people with a clear mind and able to share this information, but there isn't. Why? You know, if you ask me, it's because these fucking channels are no different than globe earth channels and are just keeping people in circles running. They're literally just chasing their tails. They have you guys chasing your tails, you know. So again, that's nobody else's fault but yourself. It's what you put your attention to at the end of the day, you know. So I mean, I kind of do, you know, kind of do feel bad for people that are just falling into the propaganda, you know, especially globe believers, because again, they're not willfully ignorant, they're just ignorant, you know. So it's the motionless flat earthers that are the most stubborn, you know. And again, I hope that they, you know, that it actually, you know, clicks with them, you know, that they have a light bulb moment someday, you know, and they actually understand what's going on. But until then, you're just feeding the propaganda. You're falling into another psyop, you know, which is no different than the globe, you know, claiming a physical downwards acceleration, showing you a model of how everything works, you know, and that's enough to convince people. That's pretty sad. That's no different than a globe earther. If anything, you're a step back now, you know. It's pretty crazy. They all deserve an easier future of less stress. I think we all do, if you ask me. You know, especially honest people, you know, hard-working, honest people. You know, definitely deserve, you know, a break, you know, or definitely an easier future. You know, a better system, if you ask me, you know. Especially for the future, you know, the kids, you know, children, you know. They've done nothing wrong to deserve what's coming to them. They were just born. You know, like what do they have to do with all this bullshit that we're doing, you know, that they're gonna inherit, you know? It's not their fault, you know. It's up to us, the adults, you know, to set the path, to set a foundation, you know, so that the youth, you know, have something to stand on, you know. If we don't do that, if we don't set a foundation, a real foundation, not an imaginary one that you're always gonna fucking fall, you know, a real strong foundation of logic and understanding, then we don't have to worry so much about the future, because we know that the future is going to be in good hands. But when that's not happening, when we don't have that foundation of logic and understanding, then what do you think is going to happen with society? You know, like, it doesn't take a genius to understand that it's going to be bullshit, you know, and it's only getting worse and worse the further generations down. So if you think it's bad now, imagine how it's going to be for the future adults, for the children, you know? I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair for them to just inherit, just like it wasn't fair for us to just inherit this bullshit system as well. You know, and again, nobody has the right to claim the land for their own, you know, at the end of the day. We're all born on Earth. We all have the right to land, you know, and nobody owns the Earth. You know, the Earth is here for everybody to use. So the fact that they have human beings, you know, tricked into thinking that we can, you know, buy and sell land, you know, and claim it as ours and all this bullshit, that just shows you're brainwashed. If you can't think outside of that way of thinking, you have been successfully brainwashed. You know, there's just so many levels to the brainwashing. It's crazy, you know, and disconnecting you from your place of existence, again, the Earth, making you believe that it's something it's not. It's the first step from controlling you, from controlling your mind, you know, because that's the only way they can control your actions, is if they control your mind. You know, the body follows the mind, you know, so if they can control your mind, guess what, they're gonna be able to control your actions as well, you know. So again, having beliefs, having trust in humans is completely irrelevant and only a detriment to yourself if you want to understand this reality. You know, if you want to understand yourself and your place within the reality, then you can't take man's word. You can't trust man to tell you the truth. So again, don't believe me. Everything I'm saying here, don't believe me, because obviously that would be a contradiction of what I'm saying. You know, don't believe me either. Understand things for yourself, you know, and trust me, everything's gonna be way better, you know, at least subjectively, at least, you know, how you see things you're gonna be thinking way clearer, you know, things are gonna make sense. You're gonna be able to tell who's lying and who's not, you know, and you're gonna have discernment, you know, and all it takes is just for you to be honest with yourself at the end of the day, you know. Don't lie to yourself, you know. So yeah. Oh, I never showed the setup, huh? Let me show it real quick. So yeah, there's I posted up somewhere else, well, kind of next to where I usually post, because there's like a book sale or something going on right here. I'll show you guys. So this is what the setup looks like. I usually post up over there. I don't know if you guys can see that tree behind that tent over there, but again, I wanted some shade because there's literally no shade over here whatsoever. You know, a little bit of shade here, but yeah, you can see it's kind of a ghost town. Besides this bookstore, you know, whatever it is. This is where I'm at right now. So that's what the table looks like. So, oof. No, yeah, I gotta look for shade, because even if it's not extremely hot, you know, just sitting in one spot for a while, for over 30 minutes, you know, the heat starts to increase, or at least it feels like it's getting hotter. So, Realm Walker, it blows my mind thinking about what this place could be. I know, this place could be anything we want, literally. You know, we could be living, you know, however we want, you know, there should be different ways of how people sustain themselves, you know, and yeah, it's just bizarre. It's crazy how the fundamentals of existing or of living, you know, becomes basically food, you know, and shelter, you know, food and shelter, right? You would think that those two things were the basic things that we were taught, you know, in school, right, or you know, being here, is how to survive, is how to gather or grow your own food, and how to build your own shelter, right? So you don't have to rely on anybody else for what's required to be alive. You would think those will be the standards, you know, of our society, And then once we have that, the basics, which should again be very standard, shouldn't take up much of your time. You should have all the rest of that time, free time to do whatever you want. Literally, if you have your necessities met, then all that extra time is just free time, But it's crazy how they have us the opposite. They have us working a 9 to 5, or for most people, just to be able to afford the basic needs, to be able to afford shelter, and food, at the end of the day. So they have us living backwards, in my opinion, In other words, how most people work 5 days of the week and take 2 days off? If anything, it should be 2 days of work, again, working your own farm, working whatever you want, and 5 days of doing what you want. And again, you could split that however you want. You have no schedule. The schedule is the only one that you put for yourself. So yeah, there could be lots of different lifestyles, you could say, definitely in a free society, but well, obviously this is not a free society, so you guys want to give this a shot? It's 3 very easy questions. Okay, here, you guys could take this then. You guys could give it a read. If the answer is yes, then yeah. Then all right.
Are you on TikTok?
No, YouTube. Yeah. All right. It's right there. Yeah, it's the one in the front. You guys can check it out. All right. Oh, Amanda, you notice how the gentleman went silent when you asked him how the helium can go up when gravity is supposed to be pushing down. Exactly. Because a lot of people say that gravity is the container that keeps the air from going into space, right? Because obviously you need a solid container to maintain pressure. So their claim is that gravity is that container, right? So gravity is it's holding the air in, right? But then how does that work if helium gets pushed up by the air? That will mean the air has to be pushing up to be able to push the helium up as well. Because if the air is motionless, how can it push helium if it's so yeah, it kind of clicked with him, when it came to buoyancy. Again, at the end of the day, he still believes that the earth is a ball, 100%, which it's pretty crazy, but hopefully towards the end of the conversation, maybe it went down to, okay, maybe it's not a globe, right? 99%, right? that would be a success, But yeah, in my opinion, buoyancy, again, it's the effect of a contained system that's in motion. I mean, measurable, testable, repeatable. If you claim that buoyancy is the effect of something else, then yeah. Those 3 guys that looked like they wanted to stop, but
Sophia, you want to? Are you smarter than a fiddle?
Andrew, some are most likely scared that you're going to make them look dumb. Yeah, I think that's what it is, but again, that's it's like, if you're honest with yourself, you can't look dumb. If you say, I don't know, how is that dumb? You know what I'm saying? That's actually showing honesty. That actually, it shows intelligence, if anything, if you're honest with yourself, So it doesn't matter. I could have any conversation with anyone. It could be a computer engineer that's an expert in computers. It could be a mechanic or engineer, that's practically building. I can have a conversation with anyone, and all it takes is for me to be honest. Because if you start, making claims about what you do, and I don't know, I'm just gonna say I don't know. I'm not gonna say making up stories to make myself look smart, right? Like, that's dumb. Be honest. If you don't know what they're saying, just, I don't know, can you explain how that works? That shows intelligence, being honest. So yeah, people do have this idea that, if I answer wrong, I'm gonna look dumb, or I'm gonna look stupid. And it's like, no, if you're being honest, at the end of the day, you're not gonna look dumb, You know, it's impossible. Anybody tries to make fun of you for being honest, that just says more about them than you. You know what I'm saying? That just, if anything, just shows that they're a bully. You know, that they're trying to just trying to put people down. You know, it's kind of weird in a way. You know, but again, being honest, you cannot look dumb. You can't look stupid. It only shows, in my opinion, again, it's a good thing. You know. Now, if you start contradicting yourself and making claims that you can't prove to dismiss what we actually can prove, now that's gonna make you look a little bit dumb. You know, which again, a lot of people do. You know, make claims that they can't substantiate or that contradict what we know, and I can only try to explain to you how you're wrong based on what physics shows us. Again, not what I'm saying, not what I believe. It's based on what physics shows us. You know, I try to correct people. You know, and again, if you want to correct me, if I'm wrong about something, I would expect the same in return. I will expect for you to correct me practically. You know, show me, you know, how I'm wrong, and you know, step by step. You know, so again, it goes both ways at the end of the day, and it's okay to say I don't know. There's nothing wrong with saying I don't know. You know, it's like it's just crazy.
Mind if I take a picture?
Sure, you can take a picture.
Have you had any takers today?
Oh yeah, I had one conversation already, and a couple of people kind of thinking about it. You want to give it a shot?
Oh no.
No. Here, let me give you the information, then you could take it with you.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah. All right. Have a good one. You see, that's cool. Like, people come up to the table, they're curious, they want to take a picture, right? And if they don't want to have a conversation, that's cool. You know, you could take the flyer, you know, read it when you're alone at home, you know. And yeah. See, a lot of people don't look into this subject, and again, it's part of the propaganda. A lot of people don't look into this subject is because they're afraid they're going to be ridiculed, you know. Again, bullying tactics. That's all the mainstream has. That's all the globe earth has. And now the flat earthers are trying to do the same. The motionless flat earthers. And trust me, I'm from experience. I'm speaking from experience. Motionless flat earthers, just like mainstream globe earthers, are bullies. They're trying to punk, you know, people like myself, you know, trying to punk Dell, which it's a joke, you know, trying to, you know, but again, that's all they have. They're bullies. They're trying to take advantage of people, you know, and that's all they have is ridicule, hand wave dismiss, it's not important, you know, you're a shill, and all this bullshit, you know. It's pathetic. It's freaking pathetic, you know. And to see motionless flat earthers doing the same now for people speaking up about the truth, you know, it's just bizarre, you know. I'm not that surprised, to be honest, you know. There's different layers to this to the controlled opposition. That's another thing people need to realize. The controlled opposition, there's different layers, there's different levels, you know. It's not just, oh, you know, the shills are like, you know, Alex Jones, and the gatekeepers are only Alex Jones and Joe Rogan, right? No. There's also a lot of gatekeepers within flat earth. People claiming that they're flat earthers, you know. Same thing with Christianity. A lot of people claim they're Christian, you know, but what their walk doesn't align with Christian values, right? And that's when you gotta be like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Same thing with motionless flat earthers. They're claiming that they're about truth, you know, but their walk doesn't align with their claims, you know. So a lot of people, again, they infiltrated this movement, you know, and they're trying to control it from the inside. Let's be real. That's what the controlled opposition is supposed to do, is control this topic from the inside. And that's why you have all these big channels established already, because they're using these channels to control this information. And that's why these channels are never gonna talk or concede, you know, the motion of the earth. Never. Just like globe earth mainstream globe earth channels are never gonna concede that the earth is level. You know, the best thing to do is ignore these motherfuckers and just walk your walk. Represent the facts, you know, and have real conversations with real people. Real honest people, you know. I'm not gonna say everybody that I talk to is honest, but I can guarantee you they're more honest than people online. Especially, you know, content creators, you know. A lot of bullshitters online, that's for sure. A lot of trolls, you know, a lot of faceless accounts just talking shit, you know. But again, don't get distracted by that. Don't give, in my opinion, they're not even worth your attention. You know, these lying pieces of shit, you know, they're not worth it. You know, by giving them your attention, you know, you're feeding into their propaganda. You know, I know it's hard. Again, I know it gets boring. I know there's not really much content to watch besides these fucking shills online, you know, right? I get it. I get bored too sometimes, you know, and you know, it's hard to just sit down and just watch something random. You know, you wanna see people speaking truth. You know, you wanna see this moving forward and progressing, right? But giving attention to these obvious liars, or you know, these obvious, you know, dishonest people, you know, you're only kind of hurting the cause. You know, it's not helping. You know, at the end of the day, not only is it not helping overall with newbies, because you know, it's not helping you keep a clear mind as well. And again, I'm speaking from experience. When I start to watch some of these flat earth streams from other flat earthers, I'm not gonna name any names, and they start talking about electrostatics and downwards acceleration through, you know, whatever fuck they claim, RDD, anything to do with that, or they start going into fucking other theories about, you know, I honestly, I cannot, like, my brain starts to fog, you know, and I catch myself, you know, kind of like not thinking straight anymore. Like, you know, it's kind of weird. It's like I have to shut it off, like, and keep my mind clear and focused, you know, especially if I want to, you know, perfect, you know, my approach. If you know, want to, you know, make my approach better, you know, what I talk about, you know, how I present it, you know, all of that, you know, I get distracted from that when I start to listen to some of these channels. You know, it starts to literally, you know, cloud my mind with bullshit, and I could feel it, you know. So I decided to not even entertain these motherfuckers. You know, they're literally just a waste of time. You know, they're muddying the waters, and at the end of the day, it's not gonna help you. You know, it's not gonna help you grow mentally. You know, and yeah, again, it's just a waste of time. You know. Andrew, indoctrinated religious interpretation of visual perceived experience. It accelerated down from stationary. Again, people understand how water behaves when it's being contained and accelerated. You know, if people have some common sense and understand basic physics, people know, you know, that water should displace, you know, and that water has to have pressure when it's being moved, I guess you could say, or accelerated, you know. So again, it's just people's personal bias, and again, at the end of the day, this is an independent journey. You know, my walk is my walk, my journey is my journey. You know, everyone has their own journey at the end of the day. You know, and I get for some people this information is not gonna be, you know, easy to take. You know, I get it. You know, but your beliefs are not gonna change the facts. You know, it's only a matter of understanding and not having a bias. In other words, don't have your preconceived beliefs overshadow the facts. You know, if you do that, you'll realize the truth, you know, pretty easy, you know. But that's the biggest hump for people. You know, they have all these beliefs, these ideas of men clouding their judgment when it comes to accepting.
Hey, I have some questions like.
Oh yeah. You want to give this a shot?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are three very easy elementary level questions, and I want to see if you could get at least 2 or 3.
Okay.
All right. So.
Can I record myself though?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I can give you my channel when we're done. You know, I'm recording as well.
Okay.
So. All right.
I just want to see my reaction.
All right, good. All right, so I have 3 water bottles here, and they're halfway filled with water. And I painted the water blue with food coloring just to make it easier to see. All of these water bottles are at rest. That's one thing to know. How I'm showing you these, what's the difference between these 3 water bottles?
The water placement?
The water placement? What about the water placement?
One's upside down, one's regular, and one's vertical.
Okay, sure. If you had to say which one is in the correct orientation or position, which one would you say?
I guess they're all correct. They're all halfway filled.
They're all halfway filled, but based on how water behaves when contained and at rest.
At rest, it normally behaves like this one.
Okay, cool. And in this one, how would you, if you could churn it, how would you churn it to put it in the correct rotation based on how water behaves?
This is regular water. It's not frozen.
No, it's not frozen. It's just regular water. Yeah, it's not frozen.
I guess if it's like that, I guess if gravity comes down, then it'll come down.
Right. So how did you think I achieved this picture here, I guess?
I'm assuming that you froze the water.
No, the water's not frozen.
Oh, not frozen?
No. I'm going to give you a hint.
Photoshop?
I took 3 different photographs of my water bottle. I took one like this, one like this, and one like this.
Oh.
So out of these 3, which one's the one that I took upside down, for example, holding the bottle upside down?
This one?
Right. Why would you say this one?
Because the cap is upside down.
Well, I mean, I could put it like this too, and the cap will be upside down.
I guess with the balls frame.
Okay.
It's on top of the water, not under it.
Okay, you got it. So again, the less dense ping pong ball obviously can be under the water. It has to be up because it's less dense. It gets pushed up, right? So again, water, is more dense than air. So again, water goes down and pushes the air up. Again, same thing that this one actually took like that. So again, it has to do how the water, it's placed relative to the air. The water shows you where down is. I guess that's the point of this question, right? So this next one is actually
a little tricky.
Yeah, it is. Some people actually get it really quick. They already know that one of the bottles upside down and it's sideways, but I get it. So this next one, I'm gonna tell you the differences between these 3. I just want to see if you could tell which one's which. So in this one, I have a box truck halfway filled with water as well. The differences in these is that one of them is at rest, one of them is accelerating forward, and one of them is accelerating in reverse. So if I was to ask you which one of these 3 is the one that's at rest?
I would say this one's at rest.
Why?
I guess I don't know how to explain it, but it just looks at rest.
Okay. Would you say because the water is level and it's not
it's
swishing?
Not
right? Exactly. So if I was to ask you from these 2, A and C, which one is accelerating forward?
I'd have to say C.
You think C is accelerating forward?
No, I think A is.
A, right?
Yeah.
A is the correct answer. Do you know why this one's the one accelerating forward?
I guess if you move forward, everything moves backwards.
Not everything, but the more dense material goes backwards, and anything that's less dense will get pushed forward. So the air will get pushed to the front, and the water will appear to go to the back. And then right here is the opposite. I mean, and showing you that it's going in reverse.
Yeah.
So again, how water behaves is showing you what's going on when it comes to acceleration, right? So pretty easy, right? So this last one's the easiest one. And then, so since we understand, actually before we get to it, how would you describe when water's contained and at rest? Again, would you say it's level? Level?
Yeah.
What could be your definition of level?
It's not moving in any direction.
Okay, would you agree that level could be horizontal, perpendicular to the vertical?
Yeah.
Right? No deviation in elevation, horizontal. Okay, perfect. So since we understand what level means, and then water's contained and at rest is always level, which one of these 2 represents water level as we know it? A or B? When it's contained and at rest.
When it's contained. I'll take this one.
Right, that's the obvious one, right? Obvious. So the real reason I'm doing this is because over 95% of the population, including myself and maybe you, have been tricked to believing this is what level means, even though we know it's this, and water shows us that. You want to know how we were tricked?
I'm assuming Earth.
Oh, you got it, yeah. So, do you believe that Earth is a ball?
I guess so.
Yeah. So these are official NASA images that they're supposedly taking from outer space. So NASA claimed to have satellites orbiting the Earth, right? So they need to know the radius of orbit. So they need to know the radius of the Earth if they're supposedly going around it. So they do tell us the radius of the Earth is 3,959 miles, which means there has to be curvature every mile, and every mile that curvature has to increase. So again, in the first mile, there's an 8-inch drop, second mile, 32 inches, and by the third mile, there should be 6 feet of curvature. So if we went out to a giant body of water, for example, like a lake that was miles across, to physically measure for this curvature, water's going to show us that it's going to be parallel to anything horizontal above it.
Yeah.
But they're trying to tell us that the surface of every lake on Earth is bending 6 feet in 3 miles and maintaining that bend when it's at rest.
I get you.
But in other words, a physical measurement of the Earth is the #1 proof to debunk the ball Earth claim. Again, water, the physics of water in specific. You know? So if I was to ask you respectfully, what's the number one proof or reason that makes you believe that the Earth is a ball?
I guess I just don't think differently. I just thought what science books were telling me.
Okay, so you just believe what you were told?
Yeah,
Would that be fair to say? Okay, fair enough, fair enough. So a lot of people would say gravity, you know, proves that the Earth is a ball. The irony is gravity actually debunks the globe. So gravity claims to be a force. Would you agree? It claims to cause acceleration of this object when I release it, right?
Yeah.
You believe that this accelerates down towards the Earth. The fact is, the only force that exists that we can recreate is push or pressure. So a pulling force, like a gravitational field, that doesn't exist. So the object's not being pulled to the ground, it's actually being pushed. So when something is at rest, it's the ground that's pushing up against it. It's not the object being pulled down towards the Earth.
Thank you for letting me know.
No, but yeah, that's what it comes down to. But yeah, here, let me give you my car, my file. You can take it with you. In there's the 6 main proofs that debunk the globe.
Thank you.
All right, man. Yeah, that was a really short one. Oh shit. Yeah, I still have to get my words together when it comes to talking about force and acceleration and freefall. Like, I'm still working on getting my words together to be able to articulate it, in a very simplistic way, I guess. I feel like I'm kind of like all over the place when it comes to explaining. I don't know. That's just the way I feel. I guess I'm not satisfied, I guess, with the way I present it, I guess, So these are the kind of things that I'm talking about when I'm at home. I'm trying to think of, okay, this is how I should present it. And if they say this, or I could say this, or go by it step by step, and coming up with the best way to articulate it, right? And that's how, I make my presentation better, But if I'm watching live streams from these fucking motionless flat earthers, and then I can't really think about how I want to perfect, my approach when I'm just being fed all this bullshit, I'm just hearing all this bullshit, It's a distraction, I'm telling you from experience, It's a fucking distraction. These fools are there just to waffle on for fucking hours and hours and hours and hours for 3-4 times a week and not get anywhere, That's what they fucking want, That's what Glober channels do. They waffle and waffle and waffle and waffle and waffle about nonsense. But they're getting all that money, Again, I have no problem with people getting money for entertainment. I mean, entertainment is a job nowadays, so I have no issue with people asking for money. At the end of the day, what I have an issue with is if you're not representing the facts, you talking a lot of shit, That's what I have a problem with, So. And again, at the end of the day, I wouldn't entertain any of these people, they're just muddying the waters and just making this whole shit look stupid at the end of the day. Imran, yes, one man, this is why he should change his name to Jolly Boy. That's true. And I'm not for blocking people, but eventually it's gonna get there, because there are like few trolls, on the channel that just, I don't know, it's kind of weird. They leave stupid ass comments. They do that every video. Like, you know, eventually I'm gonna have to start blocking people. Again, I'm not for that, but when you're just muddying the waters with stupidity and it's like a known account that's just doing, like, just trolling at this point, then eventually I'm gonna have to start blocking people, because your stupidity is muddying the waters. Again, I don't know if you're doing it deliberately or if it's, you know, I don't know. At the end of the day, regardless, it's yeah, a lot of questions have been answered before, for example, and they'll still ask the same stupid ass questions. And again, I'm not talking about anybody new that comes to my channel and asks me a question. You know, fair enough. You could send me an email as well. Fair enough. I'll answer it. You know, now if you don't like the answer, then that's a personal problem. You know. But if you just keep trolling after that and keep asking the same questions that have already been answered and acting like I haven't answered them and all this bullshit, and eventually I'm gonna have to block accounts like that, because again, you're just giving this false perception that I'm avoiding answering these questions and all this bullshit, and after, you know, but the fact is that I'm not. I already answered them, and it's usually trolls that ask the same questions over and over again. It's the ones that I typically don't answer anymore, you know. But instead of doing that, I'm just gonna start blocking, you know. It is what it is. No, yeah, not only that, it gets boring, like the waffling, but at the same time too, anybody that's new that comes to my channel, especially when I share my channel here in person with my flyer, you know, people are gonna go to the comments. You know, people want to see what other people have to say. You know, it's just part of human nature in a way. People want to see what other people think, you know. Like, this is what I think, but I want to see what they think, you know. Or some people don't even make up their own mind until they hear other people's thoughts. You know, that's pretty sad in my opinion, but there is a lot of people like that. If anything, the majority of people are like that. You know, that's where TV comes in. You know, people can't make up their own mind. They can't make a decision. Well, let me just see what the expert has to say, right? Let me see what how the expert sees it and explains it, right? He's an expert, so whatever he says, I'm just gonna go with. You know, and that's literally why we're in the state we're in now, you know. People having that stupid mentality of waiting for somebody else's opinion to make up my own opinion, you know. It's just crazy. People are scared to think now. That's what that shows. You're scared to think for yourself. And it all comes down to peer pressure. Let's be real. You don't want to say something you don't understand or claim something you don't understand, you know, because of the peer pressure. You don't want to look stupid. The irony is that when you just listen to these experts talking a lot of shit and you just repeat what they're saying, you're literally doing what you're trying to avoid, you know. You know, you don't want to just repeat nonsense and be ridiculed, but yes, exactly what you're doing if you just listen to these fucking gurus or these experts, you know, that are telling you what's going on. You're literally doing what you're trying to avoid, you know. It's pretty crazy. You know, crazy. Oh shit. God damn. Yep, he has a white coat on. He must know. Yeah, you could say that one, man. Uniforms are kind of a spell, you know. They are. I know, I don't really like to talk about stuff like this, but isn't like the suit and tie, right? Or something like, isn't that supposed to be like Masonic or something, right? You know, that wearing a suit and tie. You know, I think I read or heard something about that. That's where it came from like royalty, or you know, wearing the suit and ties, you know. So even that shows like professionalism, right? And all this bullshit. Again, it paints a picture in people's minds, just simply wearing a suit and tie, you know. It's pretty crazy. Oh, you're wearing a suit and tie? You must be a Mason now. That's RV logic right there, right? What a fucking joke. Yeah. Pretty crazy. Yeah. Anybody that follows Russian vids, for example, like, or people that make content like that just focus on conspiracies and the Illuminati and all these groups and the symbols, look at their symbols and all this bullshit, you know, you deserve everything that's coming to you. You deserve to be an idiot. If you actually take these people serious, you know, you gotta ask yourself, if we're talking about an objective question, you know, about the earth, for example, you know, understanding the dimensions, you know, again, physically, how is it that, for example, because people have to realize that these symbols from the Illuminati and all these, you know, societies, all these symbols that they leave behind, the 33, all this bullshit, is no different than a gang, you know, making up their symbols and their, you know, their language, right, within the gang. You know, that's all it is. It's a gang, you know, it's the gang leaving their signature. That's all it is. All their symbols and all this bullshit is just their signature, you know. It's like when a gang leaves like MS-13, right, you know, and they leave other, you know, how is it that me understanding their symbols, how is that gonna help me understand my physical reality? Like, what the fuck, the symbols, you know, the signatures of a gang, how the fuck is decoding the fucking messages, how is that gonna help me understand physics? Because people like Russian vids want you to focus on symbology. They want you to understand symbology for some reason. I don't know for what, but again, nobody seems to ask them what's the relevance in understanding the symbology or the symbols. How is that gonna help me understand my reality and physics? It doesn't. It's fucking retarded to give any attention to any of that bullshit. What you should be focusing is the crimes, the claims that they make. You know, that's what exposes these motherfuckers. Doesn't matter what robe they wear. It's the tools they're using to deceive. It's the tools they use to lie, to gain people's trust, you know. All this that's what should be highlighted, not 33 and 66. Oh, why he has a 66? Or his phone number ends in 66. Like, what? Like, all this fucking, oh, his birthday is 3/3. You know, it's like, like, what the fuck? Like, even if the numbers were there, again, I don't deny that the numbers are there. Like, what relevance does it have? I mean, I already know these people are fucking liars. And yeah, and they leave their signature everywhere, just like gangs do. How does that help me understand my reality? Physical reality. How does that help me in any way, shape, or form, I guess? That'll be a better question, you know. The fact is that it doesn't. You know. It's just a waste of time. It's pathetic. It doesn't prove anything. It just proves how stupid you are if you take it serious. That's the only thing it proves. It's fucking crazy, man. Fucking crazy. Oh shit. Alright, just gotta put a little bit more time on the meter. But yeah, I gotta work on my approach a little bit. Kind of refine it, I guess, right? Especially now that I'm introducing the acceleration question. I didn't even show them the ABC with the helium balloon. I only did the water one. So for those of you that are late, so from now on I'm gonna be asking 3 questions. You know, 3 questions. So again, most of you already know. Shit. Yeah, the first question is gonna be with the water bottle, the orientation of the bottle. That's gonna be my first question. The second question, again, I mean, I should have it here. The second question is gonna be this one. again, having to do with water as well. So in this question, I'm asking people, out of these three, there's one accelerating forward, there's one accelerating in reverse, and then there's one that's at rest. So the question is, which one of these three box trucks, you know, is at rest? You know, and they all have water in it. They're all halfway filled with water. You know, and which one is at rest? And you know, obviously it's B. You know, obviously because the water's not being displaced. So again, this is going to be the second question from now on. And the third question, again, all of you already know, it's going to be I'll just show you. Yeah, it's going to be the normal. Again, this is for it's going to be the A and B question. That's the third question. Yeah. So that's what I'll be working with for the most part, I guess. So I think it's a cool line of questions, I think, because the first question kind of leads to the second question. You know, water being at rest and water being accelerated, you know, because the first one has to do with all of them are at rest, you know, and you have to just, you know, tell what orientation the bottle is. And the second one, only one is at rest, you know, and there's one accelerating forward, one accelerating backwards. So, you know, kind of leads, you know, from the first one. And then the last one, obviously, water being level when contained and at rest, you know, it's just the nail in the coffin, obviously, when it comes to A and B. So I think it's a pretty good way that it kind of lined up. So we'll see how it works from now on. You want to give this a shot? Yeah. So 3 very easy elementary level questions, and let's see if you can get at least 2 or 3. So the first one, I have 3 water bottles here, and they're all halfway filled with water, and I painted the water blue with food coloring just to make it easier to see. So all of these water bottles are at rest. So I want to see if you could tell me how I'm showing them to you. What's the difference between these 3 water bottles?
This one, the floor is here, so gravity is that way.
Okay, so you would say the floor is like that? The floor is that way?
This one's correct.
Okay.
And then the floor is like that.
You got it. How did you know? Let me ask.
The ball looks like it's floating on the water, so I just assumed.
Right, no, you got it. So again, the water can be on top like this. You
No,
know,
the
yeah,
ball wouldn't
that defies
float.
physics. Would you agree?
Mhm.
Obviously, right? Yeah, you got it. Pretty easy. So this next one, again, it has to do with water as well.
Cool.
And in this one, I'm going to tell you the differences between these 3, but I want to see if you could tell me which one's which. So
Okay.
here I have a box truck, and it's halfway filled with water.
They're
The
on different hills.
No. So the differences here is one is accelerating forward, one is accelerating in reverse, and one is at rest. So can you tell me which one's at rest?
This one's at rest.
B? Why would you say B?
The water isn't moving, it's flat.
Exactly, you got it, yeah. So which one is accelerating forward?
This one.
You got it, yeah. How did you know that one's accelerating forward?
The water would move back if the
You
truck was
got
moving
it.
forward.
So the more dense goes to the back, and the less dense goes to the front, which is the air, right? That's pretty obvious. You got it, yeah. It's pretty smart.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this last one, another thing to note, when water's contained and at rest, for example in B, how would you describe the surface of the water when it's contained and at rest?
Like what do you mean?
How would you describe the surface? Would you say it's level?
Yeah.
Yeah, level. What would be your definition of level, I guess?
Still. Like,
Still, okay, that's a good one. The one-word definition will be horizontal.
yeah.
Yeah, because
okay,
if you,
I see what
again, this is not level.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
a slope. So again, horizontal, perpendicular to the vertical will be what level is. And
Yeah.
water shows us that, right? It's the number 1 tool for measuring level, by the way. So since we understand what level means and how water behaves when it's contained and at rest, so which one of these 2 represents level when it's contained and at rest? You got it. It's the obvious one, yeah, you got it. So this is the easiest one, but the real reason I do this is because over 95% of the population, including myself and maybe you, have been tricked to believing this is what level means, even though we know it's this, and water shows us that. You want to know how we were tricked?
How is this one at level?
Exactly. Do you believe the Earth is a ball?
I do.
Yeah, so NASA, they came to have satellites orbiting the Earth, so they need to know the radius of orbit if they're supposedly going around it, so they need to know the radius of the Earth. So they do tell us the radius of the Earth, is 3,959 miles, which means there has to be curvature every mile, and every mile has to increase. So in the first mile, there's an 8-inch drop, second mile, 32 inches, and by the third mile, there should be 6 feet of curvature. So if we went to a giant lake or a giant body of water, to physically measure for this curvature, the surface is going to show us that it's going to be parallel to anything horizontal above it. But they're trying to tell us that the surface of water is bending 6 feet in 3 miles and 66 feet in 10 miles, which is like a 6-story building. So this will be the #1 experiment to debunk the ball Earth, a physical measurement of the Earth, water in specific. So if I was to ask you respectfully, what's the #1 proof or reason that makes you believe that the Earth is a ball?
Just all of science.
If I was to ask you in specific, what science, I guess, tells you that the Earth is a ball?
Well, the Earth is actually an oval.
Ovalate spheroid, okay, I've heard of that.
Yeah, around the equator is where it would be the widest.
Sure.
There are also certain physics of how things drop to the floor. It's also the question of like, the moon is also a circle, but the Earth is flat kind of thing.
Yeah. So when it comes to the lights in the sky, like the sun and the moon, I don't know what they are. Human beings have only gone so high, in my opinion. So anybody making claims about the sun and the moon is just a guess. Nobody knows what they actually are. And I would say that's a red herring when we want to establish what the dimensions of the Earth actually are. Because looking at the stars or the sky, it's not going to tell us anything about the physical ground we're walking on. So again, a physical measurement like this will tell us whether it's bending or not. Just before you go, I know it's a lot. You said gravity, the way things fall, kind of proves to you that it's a ball. The irony, a lot of people think gravity proves the globe. In reality, it actually debunks the globe. And the reason why is that, did you know that gravity is not a force, or do you think it is a force?
I do have to go, but I am curious. Do you have a degree? No. I'm asking out of curiosity. Do you have a degree in that?
I do not have a degree.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just understand reality for myself, and anybody making claims that contradicts physics, for example. So if you came to me that you can walk on water, I can honestly just say that that's bullshit, right? Unless you could show me walking on water, then I'll accept it. I don't have to believe it. So I don't have beliefs. So I accept reality for what it is. So claiming to me that water has the ability to bend when it's contained and at rest defies physics. Just like
the reason why I was asking about your major was because I was wondering if you were like a physics major or something.
Well, I think we all deal with physics every day. I mean, when you get up off your bed, it requires physics to get up off your bed and walk. So we're all physicists in a way. Existing simply and doing stuff. It's what a physicist is. See what happens. Cause and effect type of thing. So again, if you're claiming to me that water bends, that defies physics. That's no different than you claiming that you can walk on water. So when it comes to gravity, just real quick before you go, I know they claim that it's a pull, that this accelerates towards the ground. But like you said, when we go back to this other question with water displacement, when it's at rest or being accelerated, the water has to move relative to the direction of the container, right? So again, if I accelerate this way, the water moves to the back. If I accelerate this way, the water moves to the back. If I accelerate down, the water goes up and pushes the air to the bottom, right?
Yeah.
In free fall, that doesn't happen. The air doesn't go to the top because the bottle's not being accelerated now. What's happening is the earth pushing up against you right now. You're not being pulled to the earth. So this force of gravity is not a pull, it's a push. So it's the earth's motion that's creating your weight, for example. And because your body has inertia, it wants to remain still. That resistance of the motion is what gives you your weight.
I see.
So that's what's happening. So objects don't accelerate down. It's the earth that comes up to meet it. And physics shows us that, again, the fact that there's no displacement in free fall, and the fact that all accelerometers, again, if you have an accelerometer on your phone and you accelerate it in any vector, it's going to displace, it's going to show acceleration or a force. When you put it into free fall, however, it doesn't measure any force.
I see. Thank you.
So here, if you want to take this,
I came back.
Yeah. Have I spoken to you before?
I feel like it, because remember the water things.
Yeah.
Where I saw the sun and he's like, oh, it's the TV show where he's smarter than a fifth grader.
Oh, no, it's not this. It's just my channel, but
Same
I mean,
idea?
yeah. Basically, I mean, you heard the conversation I had with her, about. So, do you believe the Earth is a ball? You get right into it, I guess.
I mean,
Like this.
don't really care, but I guess.
You don't really care.
No, because like.
But do you believe it is, or do you not? What if you had to ask you, like, what shape is the Earth? What would you say?
Round, I guess.
Yeah, right. That's what you were told, right? So if you had to like quantify it or justify it, how would you do so? How would you justify the belief that the Earth is a ball? You wouldn't. You couldn't, right? So is it just something you would say you just adopted?
I
That
guess.
you were just told?
The idea was given.
Yeah, exactly. The idea. Do you think it's better to understand how substance behaves, for example, or reality, for ourselves, or is it better to just believe someone?
Will believing that someone prevent a harm?
No, it won't. It won't. I mean, it could be detriment to yourself if you believe somebody that's telling you lies. You don't think that people. I mean, that's how people take advantage of other people. What
But
did you
will
say?
it prevent a harm?
Will it prove any harm? Is what you're saying?
Prevent?
Prevent any harm. Do you think it's okay to lie to children, for example, about their existence? I would say that's child abuse, in my opinion. So there is a lot of harm.
Harming them.
Do you think psychological harm should be taken into consideration? Like, is psychologically abusing a child bad?
Yes, but lying to them depends on the lie.
Yeah, exactly.
It's either just lying or psychological abusement, right?
Yeah,
Depending on the lie.
yeah. Depending on the lie, I would say lying about our existence and what this place actually is, especially to a very small child. I would say that is psychological abuse, making them believe in something that's not true, so that then they just take authority's word over their own experience and their own common sense. So that's how you facilitate somebody taking advantage of someone else. That's why deceivers, that's why they lie, to take advantage of people. So it does lead to a lot of detriment, in my opinion, and I think it's very important to understand that this place is not what we're being told. So there is a lot of harm if you really think about it. That I would say the dysfunction of society, it's because people are not properly grounded in understanding reality for themselves. They just take somebody else's word that they think they're smarter than them, and they just follow. So a lot of people are just followers nowadays. A lot of sheep. A lot of people are not independent thinkers nowadays, and that can lead to, a lot of crazy shit that we're experiencing now. Drug abuse. People just don't care about what their own life, let alone other people's lives, right? And it's all because people are not properly grounded in what this reality actually is. So if you believe that the Earth is a ball in an infinite vacuum of space and we evolved from monkeys, then you're probably not going to care much about others. But if you understand that this was intelligently designed and it has a purpose, then maybe you'll think twice about taking advantage of others or harming others, right? So it goes really deep when it comes to the why. What does it matter, right? So, but that's a completely separate question to the fact that we are being lied to. Again, physics showing us that it is, that is not a globe, for example. It's a physical impossibility. So, do you have any questions for me? Have you thought about it since the last time we talked, or not?
Not really. People call it way too much.
No, I get it.
Almost no free time.
I get it. Trust me, I barely have enough time to do this because I actually have to work too. I work a full-time job, so I have to take time off to be able to come out and do this. And believe it or not, I get lazy too, because I don't want to take this whole responsibility on myself, and I don't. I do this kind of like for fun as well. It makes me feel good to share the truth, right, about this place. But yeah, I get it. You say you're easily distracted with your school and your day-to-day life, for example, yeah. And that's what they want everybody. If they can have everybody occupied, again, that's why your job is called an occupation. It's just to keep you occupied from actually asking real questions. So,
wasting time.
well, I would say an occupation is a waste of time. Over 95% of jobs, in my opinion, are obsolete. In other words, they don't actually contribute to anything in society.
Would they give you an income?
I'm sorry?
Would they give you an income?
They give you an income because we created this system of economy. We shouldn't, in my opinion, this economic system that we created, it should be optional. So in other words, everybody should have the right to land. Nobody should be charging rent to anybody else. And if you want to work a job for your hobbies or for your addictions or whatever, then you do that. But the fact that we all have to work for basic necessities like shelter and food, that's how we're being fucked. And that's how we're being kept in the dark. By just keeping us occupied, distracted, entertained, and not actually sitting down and thinking about our existence.
So without an occupation, let's say we don't have to pay rent or nothing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But let's say we want to eat, right? And for some reason, our piece of land where we put crops is not giving food.
I would say you should move to another area that you could.
Right. Well,
a lot of times you could replenish the soil too. We don't know none of this. I don't know how to replenish soil, but there's people that do.
Yeah.
This is the things that we should be taught, how to refertilize the soil so we can actually grow food here. All of these things are basic traits as a human being that have been lost. So now we're living a substitute society, I would say. This is like it's being forced on us in a way. We're born into it. And because we're born into it, a lot of people think it's the norm. but in reality it's not. We live in a cult, you know, and that's just the word for culture. You know, we live in cultures. Cult is just short for culture, you know, but again, we could have good cultures or we could have bad cultures. I think we are living in a bad culture because the culture is taking advantage of us, you know what I'm saying, or the government, in other words, you know, the ones that present all of these ideas to us.
Going back to my idea.
Sure.
So you're hungry, your crops didn't give you food, right? Well, next to you is your neighbor's farm thingy, and then you be, hey, I want some, but he's like, no, this is I did this, or whatever. And since you don't have money or something to exchange for the goods, then you die, I guess.
No, well, even in this society, with all the economic stress that everybody has, there's still a lot of food. How would you call them? Food banks and stuff like that. Churches that give away a lot of food to people. So even in this shithole of society that we live in right now, people still help others. So for sure, people are gonna be helping each other out as well. You know, especially when they don't have financial restrictions, it'd be easier to help others. You know.
Yeah, but going back to my point, let's say the same situation. Farmer 1 is hungry because he doesn't have food. Farmer 2 has food because he doesn't want to give food to Farmer 1.
Sure.
So what does Farmer 1 do?
Farmer
Steal
1?
at night or something like that, right?
You're gonna have to do whatever you can to survive.
Sharpens his knife.
Right?
Yeah, that. I mean, that could lead to that.
What's the opposite of benefits? Home benefits?
I'm sorry.
What's the opposite of benefiting?
What's the opposite?
Detriment.
Harming? Yeah, but the actions Farmer 1 does harm farmers too.
But here's the thing, so I'm gonna easily debunk that claim. Right now in this society, guess what percent of the population is actually growing and feeding the rest of the population? What?
5, 10.
Right, less than 5%, right? So let's say at least 50% of us actually grew food. Do you really think we're gonna have a shortage of food? If less than 5% can feed the entire population, imagine 50% people actually were hands-on. Hunger will be obsolete. I'm sorry?
We currently don't have a food supply problem.
Oh, exactly.
It's a food distribution problem.
Exactly. But what he's saying is that, I guess my point is that if a very small percent of the population is able to grow and feed the entire population, in this scenario where you don't have to work and people actually grow their own food or gather their own food, hunger will be obsolete. You know what I'm saying? There'll just be an abundance of food everywhere. Like we could plant fruit trees instead of these fake trees.
I know, right?
Exactly. We could have a bunch of fruit right here, apples, oranges, you know. But why do we have these trees? Because it's a system. They want you to buy food from a market.
No, you can literally grab any orange off a tree that you see on
Yeah,
the
in
campus.
public, exactly.
Really?
No, on this campus.
Oh, in this campus too?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Oh.
Everyone with friend of two was like, no, don't
Thank
do
you.
it, they're gonna charge you something.
No, yeah, you can pull any fruit on
Okay.
campus. You can pull.
Okay. Sure, that's cool. But I would
There's
like.
probably some orchards where they're like, this is a specific experiment. Don't touch this because it may not be healthy for you.
Right.
But for the most part.
Now imagine that on a bigger scale, putting fruit trees in public everywhere, you know, instead of just generic trees, you know. That could easily, but that's the thing, that will mess up their food supply chain, their profits.
My
you know?
idea
Sure.
of why they don't do that, besides that, because it makes a lot of sense,
Yeah, sure.
is that so we grow waste because like they fall, they get smashed, and people want to eat it because it's already on the floor, right?
Yeah, sure.
So who's gonna clean them? The insects, / animals are coming. So that was my belief of why they don't do fruits.
Okay.
Now
You're saying like just for health, kind of like health,
cleanliness.
health. Okay, that could be a
Maybe not as big as yours.
Sure.
but small.
Sure. I mean, those are problems that can easily be solved. You know, if you ask me. I mean, we have street cleaning that passes through my house twice a week. You
And
know,
they're getting paid.
Exactly.
That goes against what you're saying.
if you keep your area clean, then everybody can keep their area clean. And in areas that no people live, well, I guess those areas will just. I mean, once the fruit falls, it just becomes soil again. It dries out.
If it's in the dirt.
Yeah, I mean, eventually it dries out and becomes powder or dirt again. You know what I'm saying? So it's not really waste. We're creating the waste with plastic. You know, everything that humans make, all the materials that we make, that's creating the waste. Trees cannot create waste. It just becomes soil again. Any fruit that falls on the dirt. You know.
Okay.
You know, so again, it just solves itself. You know, all these problems will solve themselves. You know what I'm saying? But again, it comes back to basic fundamentals about how this reality works. You know, if I may ask you respectfully, you believe the Earth is a globe, right?
Yeah, I believe it's spherical.
If I was to ask you why, what convinces you that it is a globe?
Lunar eclipse.
Lunar
Shadow
eclipse?
of the planet.
I'm really sorry to interrupt you, but
Sure,
I
sure.
want to interrupt again later
Sure.
on. I'm a leave because I have a request.
Okay.
It was nice catching up with you. Next
Yeah.
time I see you, come back.
No, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Appreciate it, man.
Good luck on
Thanks.
your quiz.
Yeah. So a solar eclipse is what convinces you.
No, lunar eclipse.
Oh, lunar eclipse. Okay.
Yeah.
So what about the lunar eclipse that convinces you that it
The
is?
shape of the Earth's shadow.
Okay. So you assume that the sun. You assume that the heliocentric model is true and the sun is.
No, I don't assume.
How do you know then?
Because of, what is it called? Like the retrograde tracks. Where so when we had an Earth-centered view, some of the planets had to do like these loop-de-loop type of orbits in order to account for them appearing to move backwards in our sky. However, that problem is solved based around a sun-centered solar system.
Okay. Let's say that was true and the Earth was a globe. Should we be able to physically measure that curvature here on Earth, or is it not possible to measure it?
Yeah, I believe you if you have a stick. So like I think they did it with obelisks back in the day, where they had like one obelisk. Let's say what is it? It's like different latitudes, right? So we have one obelisk at like a latitude that's closer to the North Pole, then another obelisk that's on the equator. So the shadows that is cast on those obelisks during, let's say, high noon will be different angles, and so like from those differences we can then calculate the size and shape of the
Okay.
Earth.
Did you know that observation of measuring the shadows in different locations and getting a different length can also work on a level Earth with a much smaller sun locally? So if a sun is actually local and much smaller than what they're telling us, it will still give us the same results over a plane. For example, if you have a light source that's right above you here locally, it's gonna, if you're right under it, it's not gonna cast a shadow.
So
But the further you,
how far?
what do you
Like
mean?
what?
Oh, I don't know the distance to the sun exactly.
Oh, then I can't really.
Do you know the distance to the sun
You gotta
in the
give me
heliocentric model?
something. Yeah,
What is it?
it's 180.
In miles.
Oh, I don't have that many.
Okay, it's 93 million miles is what
Yeah,
they
and it
claim.
varies by like.
So how did
hundreds
they
of
measure
thousands
that
of
distance?
miles.
if I may?
Trigonometry.
Did you know that distance actually changed
Yeah.
from 1 mile all the way up to 93 now? So when they first proposed the distance to the sun.
I bet. I mean,
Yeah.
I hope so, right? Because the more information we get, the more accurate we can make things.
in trigonometry, I'm glad you brought that up. I don't know if you knew, measuring angles to the sun or the stars using trigonometry only works from a level surface because triangles don't have curved bases.
I've literally done trigonometry problems in 3D space, so I'm not too sure what you're referring
So if you
to.
have a curved surface
Okay.
and you're measuring angles to the sun, from a curved surface, the angle is always going to change because you're going down a curve post and measuring an angle. So
But
you
the
do.
point's still the same, so
Yeah,
I
the
understand.
point. My point is that the only way to actually get accurate measurements of luminaries in the sky, stars, sun, it's only possible from a level surface. That's my point. To measure angles, you
So
need
like
a level
to
surface.
shoot a distance
To measure the angle.
what does it matter what platform it's on?
Well, that's
Because that's what you're saying. You're saying the platform of which the measurement is like happening.
Okay,
matters. It determines the
let me
measurement.
explain to you. So
Yeah.
if we're on a level surface, right, and we're measuring a luminary that's right here, for example, or just in our visual space here,
Yeah.
if we start walking backwards, that's gonna appear to drop due to perspective.
Okay, so if you change the location of the measurement.
yeah,
Okay.
so again,
So you didn't say that the first
Yeah,
time.
my
Well,
bad.
yeah, if you change position, it's going to change the measurement.
exactly. So on
Okay.
a curved surface, you couldn't measure angles to be congruent with each other because as soon as you start going down this curve, you're
Yeah,
not
as soon
measuring the
as you
same
start-
angle anymore.
Yeah, as soon as you start moving,
Yeah.
of course the
So for
observation's gonna change.
for navigation, in other words, the trigonometry that's used or the celestial sphere,
the sextants,
the celestial
right? That's
exactly,
what it's
they only work over a plane because you're to navigate, to move and keep the same angles relative to your last position. It would have to be an equal surface.
So you don't think they change the angles or anything like that?
From a globe
don't-
perspective, it wouldn't even work. All the numbers wouldn't be congruent to each other. You'll have different angles from somebody standing here to somebody standing over here.
Like I've spoken to people who captain boats,
Right.
and they don't agree with you.
Well, I would say that they follow the celestial sphere concept to navigate, and the celestial sphere is due to perspective. So an object, for example, this tree.
But you're saying it doesn't work. So if they're telling me like, yeah, you know, I go on boats, like this is how
Okay.
I do it, and it works. So then I don't really understand. Right? Like
Okay.
if it is flat, then
Okay.
it shouldn't work for them.
No, no.
Right?
Okay, so the celestial sphere that they use to navigate is due to, so for example, if I can measure the top of this tree, for example,
Yeah.
and I can measure the angle, we'll say 45 degrees, for example, right? If I walk backwards or, you know, on a level surface, that is going to appear to drop in our field of view because everything shrinks to a point. The
What
further
do you mean
something.
by that? You said that's going to drop in our
So
field of view. So
it's
like
gonna-
the tree's
so
going to
would-
drop in the field of
No,
view?
no, in your field of view, it does appear to drop because everything shrinks at a distance. Would you agree or disagree that objects appear to shrink in your field of view?
Yeah.
Yeah, everything gets smaller until you can't see it anymore, right?
Yeah.
So when I walk away from this tree, for example, this 45-degree angle that I'm measuring right now, when I walk back over a level surface, it's gonna appear to drop in my field of view only because it's shrinking. So what they're trying to tell me that it's not actually dropping in your field of view, you're going down a curve. That's what they're trying to tell me.
Okay.
So an explanation could work both ways, is my point. So that doesn't prove
So
either
how
or.
does that work with the boat captains using a spherical model and then still being able to use
I would
navigation properly
yeah.
when you claim that they should not be able to, right?
No, they
That's what
use
you're saying?
GPS. A lot of navigators nowadays just use GPS. Not a lot of them use the old school way of
Well,
navigating.
isn't GPS also based on a globe?
No, that's just a projection. The globe is just a projection. So yeah, they are traveling using GPS, but what they're seeing in their graph is just a projection. So the actual physical distances you're traveling
I'm referring to the satellites, right, that are orbiting
Right.
the planet.
Right. So yeah, again, all of this.
Right? 'Cause isn't that how GPS works?
Well, if you actually look into it, over 95% of communication here on Earth, it's all underground cables and ground towers. So no signals are coming from satellites. If anything coming from above is satelloons or high altitude drones. So satellites floating in outer space. Again, outer space is just a concept. It's not real.
Cool.
And
Okay.
this is how easily you debunk outer space. In order to have two opposing pressure systems next to each other, you need a solid barrier.
I don't think so.
So can you demonstrate a higher pressure without a container? Then
Yeah.
How?
So, right, when there is, so like here on Earth, it's very difficult to demonstrate those things.
Yeah.
Just because I don't know, you could say like the parameters are a bit different. However, when you're in space where there's different parameters, then at that barrier, you basically have the container is a force. So like how we have the electromagnetic force, the weak and strong nuclear forces.
Right.
There's also like the force of gravity. So that force is what helps,
Okay.
keep things together.
Yeah. So here's the main thing about this topic, and you brought up gravity. So gravity, you believe, is a force, right? A universal force or a force that pulls objects towards the center mass. Or what do you think gravity is?
I think gravity is the label we give to the phenomena we see.
So so if I release this object, for example, you believe this object got pulled to the ground by gravity or
Yeah,
force
it's
of
getting
gravity.
pulled to the
Okay.
center of the Earth.
So the fact is,
Like if we were to crawl to the center of the Earth, we'd be weightless.
okay. So here's the thing. I don't know if you knew this.
Given that we could survive all
Have you heard of
Right.
Einstein's theory of relativity?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he claims that gravity is not a force.
Okay.
So, and the reason why is because when you release an object into free fall, there is nothing acting on it to accelerate it. So in reality, it's not accelerating down towards the Earth. It's what's happening is the Earth right now, it's pushing up against you. So the Earth is moving. So it's in motion.
Yeah, the Earth is. Yeah, I agree.
It's
the Earth
moving
is in
up.
motion.
And when you release an object, it simply starts to lose momentum. So because of inertia, the object wants to remain motionless. So when you release it, if it's more dense than the air, that means the air can't push it up anymore. So it appears to go down, but it's the Earth that's coming up to meet it.
What is density?
Density is how much mass per volume an
So
object
why
has.
is it that more dense objects
Because
end up
that-
going under least dense objects?
Because the air is not dense enough to push it up. Because the Earth is pushing up on the air, creating a pressure gradient. That's why the air has pressure because it's being pushed.
How did you measure that the Earth is pushing up?
Oh,
You know, like
easy.
what
You know what
force?
buoyancy is? Buoyancy, when something floats in water or
Yeah.
when you let a helium balloon, it goes up.
Yeah.
So buoyancy is the effect of a contained system that's in motion. So for example, here, let me show you. Fuck, my phone's overheating. Okay, so I don't have my phone, but so I did an experiment with a cargo van and I put a helium balloon in the cargo van. And the helium balloon obviously is vertical when it's at rest. When I accelerate that van forward, for example, what happens is the back of the van, the solid door, starts to push the air in that direction, which creates a pressure gradient, and that more dense air pushes the helium in that same direction because helium is less dense, right? So if I have an apple there hanging, that apple is not going to get pushed like the helium balloon did. The apple is just going to swing back or appear to swing back when I accelerate the whole van forward. So we have two motions there, of the apple appearing to go back and the helium balloon going forward with the direction of the force.
Well, it's mainly the truck is moving forward. The
Exactly.
apple's staying in place.
Exactly. So here on Earth is the same principles. The air is pushing the helium up, and the air is being pushed by the ground because the helium is less
That
dense.
still didn't answer my question.
What's
though.
your-
How
what's
did
your-
you how did you measure the force that the Earth is moving up at?
When an air bubble rises in water, that shows you that the Earth is pushing up. Matter cannot move
I'm
on
not
its
asking you how do you know that the Earth is moving up. I'm asking how did you measure the force? Like how much
buoyancy is the force of it's the effect of a contained system that's in motion. Buoyancy. So when you release a
force?
helium,
Okay, yeah, but you're still not answering my question about the Earth. You're giving me examples of like a van
You-
and of your water bottle, but like how did you measure that for the Earth?
if I have an air bubble here, and if I blow an air bubble here, for example, what direction does it go? If I blow an air bubble here, if I had a little hole and I blew an air bubble, what direction does that air bubble go?
It depends on where it's at. If you're here
If,
on
if
Earth,
it's in the bottom, for example,
then the water's going to displace it.
in what direction?
Well, the air bubble will go up.
Exactly. Why does the air bubble go up?
You're still not answering my question though,
No, I'm getting to that.
Okay.
Why is the air bubble going up?
because the water displaced it.
How did the water displace it?
Because gravity pulled the water down.
So do you agree or disagree that when an air bubble is rising or a helium balloon is rising in air, would you agree that the medium that surrounds it, that's more dense, is pushing it up? Would you
No.
agree or disagree? No?
No.
So how
it's
is-
because the area that's around it that's more dense is coming down and it's settling due to gravity. And so because it's settling, it's basically forcing the lighter, less dense material up.
So you're saying gravity is pushing helium up?
No.
What's pushing
I'm
the
saying
helium up?
gravity is pulling more dense gas down, and that more dense gas coming down is displacing the less dense gas. Kind of like, have you ever seen the
No, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
let me give you
Sure,
an example
sure.
as well. You have a cup of
Right.
carbon dioxide,
Right.
and you have a candle. Now, when you pour the carbon dioxide down, it's not that the carbon dioxide is pushing the oxygen up, or that the Earth is pushing the oxygen up. It's just that the carbon dioxide is displacing the oxygen, and it's moving it somewhere else. Whether it goes up or off to the side, it doesn't really matter.
Okay. So displacement, right? Would you agree that displacement only happens when there's a force present?
I don't know. I'm not a physics major.
Okay.
But I would kind of guess that displacement occurs because gravity's pulling it down, so it's displacing.
Yeah. So I could show you here. Let me show you this real quick. It's better if you
still
actually.
haven't answered my question.
It's basically this simple. Look. Let me just show you so you can see it, because I don't want you to think I'm making it up. But again, you can recreate this for yourself. I don't know if you could see the helium balloon there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I've done that. I've had
Okay.
helium balloons in my
So
car.
the only way for the medium to push on the less dense medium is for the medium to also be pushed in that same direction. So the air in this example, the vent with this example.
So in your van, you were able to then extrapolate that out to every situation
Bas-
to make it a universal law?
That's a basic law that buoyancy is the effect of a contained system that's in motion, and buoyancy shows you the direction that the force is being applied. Force is motion. So again, you need to have a containment, you need to have substance in there, and that substance needs to be also being pushed in that same direction that is pushing the less dense, because matter cannot move on its own. Matter doesn't have the ability to move itself, or do you think it does? It requires.
I move myself,
Well,
so
you-
I don't really. I mean, I think that like you're
No,
moving yourself.
Yeah,
so
but
you're
we're
kind
talking
of
about life force
screwing
now,
your-
about consciousness. I'm talking about inanimate matter. Because obviously, if you die, your body can't move on its own. It requires your inner force, your life force, right?
Well, it requires electrical impulses.
Yeah, whatever. So
Yeah, whatever.
Okay, no,
It
yeah.
requires electricity.
Sure. It requires a cost.
You could say
A
electricity
cost.
is a
Let's just say
force.
that cost. In order for something to have motion, it requires a cost. Would you agree or disagree?
I mean, once again, I'm not a physicist, and I've heard some weird stuff in physics. But let's go with yes.
Okay, yeah, it requires a cause. I mean, if you claim that matter can move on its own with no external cause, I would say that's just that has never been
This
proven.
is not my specialty.
Right.
What I've heard from people who are physicists, there is an issue concerning cause and effect.
Right.
It's
So
not always cut and clear, cut and dry.
right. So the fact is, when you release an object into free fall, there is no cause or something that's making this accelerate down. How do we know that? Well, that's the thing. I don't know if you knew. Have you heard of Einstein's theory of relativity?
You've already told me
Okay.
that, so I hope you think I know, because you literally
No, yeah.
said
So
that. Like,
he acknowledges that there is no force in free fall. In other words, there is no acceleration. So he has to come up with the bending and warping of space-time, which is just the concept that supposedly space is flowing down and is dragging everything down with it at a constant, even though it's an acceleration that we witness, you know. But now they're claiming it's a constant, this flow of bending and warping of space-time. The only reason why he came up with that explanation is because they need an explanation to push the globe model. Because if they don't have that
Who's
acceleration,
they?
well, the people that, the governments for sure, the people that put this out there, you
So,
know,
like,
and
which
teach it.
governments?
All governments.
Like,
Have you heard?
Literally all governments.
Have you heard of the UN? Or anybody that's part of the
Yeah,
UN?
not all. Okay, so like the UN. So
The
not all governments, just the UN government.
Mainly the UN, sure.
Mainly?
Maybe, you know, mainly. I would say anybody that's part of that is for
How
sure.
long has the UN been around?
Probably the 1940s, I would assume, when NASA was
How long
established.
has humans thought the Earth was round?
Around where NASA was established.
Really?
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
don't agree with
That's the whole-
historians?
That's the whole reason why they came up with
what was it,
the.
like Aristophanes?
Right.
You don't believe in history?
Nah, I don't believe in stories. I either know
So, like,
something.
you don't believe history at all?
I don't believe history at all.
is
Especially
that?
if there's a story in history, for example, Jesus walking on water, that contradicts my physical reality, then I can honestly say that that's bullshit. It's like,
So, like, you think Jesus is bullshit?
I think so. Anybody that claimed that man walked on water, in my opinion, they are bullshit. Because that defies physics. Might as well, they could easily put in there that he walked
So
on air.
Anything that defies physics
Yes.
is bullshit. So, like,
Yes.
all miracles are bullshit.
Well,
'Cause
miracles.
miracles by definition is something that defies.
Well, that's what doctors or whatever.
No, that's what I've
or-
heard from theists.
Sure, or whatever. If they do say that, then I would say that's their opinion. Sure. This is just my opinion. You know,
So
I'm not
are
saying.
You when you say opinion, are you talking about the definition of what a miracle is? Because that's what I was discussing.
What is a miracle? I guess if I may ask you, I guess.
A miracle is what I just said, right? It's an event that defies the laws of physics, as we know.
So, for example, if you told me that, oh, it was a miracle that a pig flew, like
Or it
obviously,
was a miracle that a pig's head got chopped off, and then we just stuck it back on, and now the pig's fine.
oh well, I would say that there is something to that. I wouldn't deny it. If you can demonstrate that the pig's head got cut off and you were able to sew it back on and he's fine, I'll accept
I'm
that.
not able to demonstrate.
Oh, exactly. But if you could demonstrate
No,
me
but
that,
that's what I'm saying. Like
yeah.
in this example, right?
Yeah.
Because usually when
I
it
would-
comes to
Sure.
miracles, they're not demonstrable. Like all of Jesus' miracles, they're not demonstrable. You think those are bullshit. I think they're bullshit too.
Yeah.
So like, if a miracle can be demonstrated at that point, it would then conform to the laws of physics, or
It wouldn't
would
be a miracle anymore. Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. Yeah, so for me, miracles are just claims that people make. Or for example, like somebody cured cancer,
I mean, I would
and they say, oh, it was a miracle that they cured cancer, you know, it went away overnight. I would say there is another reason why it happened. It wasn't just a miracle. It wasn't just God pressing a button and you're healed now. There was something physically that happened that made that tumor go away.
Yeah.
So just because I don't know that what happened, that doesn't mean, oh, it's a miracle. It just means I don't
The
know.
bell tower went off.
Yeah.
I
All
gotta
right.
go to
I mean, no
class.
worries.
How
Yeah.
often are you out here?
I come here maybe once every 2 weeks. I mainly go to USC as well. I come here, I go to UC Irvine. This is the #1 censored topic online, so you're never going to catch someone like myself speaking about this the way I do. Over 95% of flat earthers are just talking a lot of shit. Just basically, they're falling into another psyop. The main psyop is that they believe the
But
Earth
you're
is...
different, right?
Yeah, they believe
You're the
that...
exception.
Because I go with physics. I go with physics.
And like none of them go with physics.
Nope, they deny that
Even though nothing you've told me, I haven't heard before.
Exactly.
I've heard it from other flat
Yeah.
earthers. So like, you're
So-
not that special.
Ask any other flat earther if the Earth is motionless or not. So they deny the cause to objects appearing to fall. They come up with another bullshit explanation, just like the ball Earth. You know, they say it's RDD or some other bullshit, but the fact is objects don't accelerate down towards the ground. That's the biggest lie on Earth, by the way.
Next time we talk, I'd like you to explain what the shadows on the moon during lunar eclipses are around.
Well, I would say that's a red herring when it comes to the shape of the Earth.
Well, then explain that to me. I have to go to class, but
Sure, it is.
I'll
Well,
explain
yeah,
again.
yeah, no worries. God damn, man, my phone overheated and I couldn't fucking put time on my meter, so hopefully I didn't get a ticket. Fuck. Ah, son of a gun. Holy shit, man, the mental gymnastics people go through is insane. Oh my god, like, oh. It's crazy how people think that gravity pulling the air down pushes helium up. Like, that just baffles me. Like, it's fucking crazy. Crazy. You know, it's damn, like, it's crazy, man. Crazy. It's not, believe it or not, it's not that easy, like, having these conversations. I know sometimes it could be when people are honest. You know, they could go very good, you know, very easy, you know, people aren't. But when people start invoking, like, imaginary physics that they can replicate and start bringing up miracles, for example, like what the fuck? Like, it's fucking insane. It's crazy. I can't believe it. Like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and start wrapping it up because, wow. Yeah, I know, it was crazy. And it's crazy because I've been trying to ask these two questions. Well, I did ask it in the first one. Is there a possibility that we have been lied to about the shape of this? Would tell me exactly where they're at, by the way. Is there a possibility that we have been lied to about the shape of the Earth, or are you 100% convinced that it's a ball? You know, and obviously the first guy said he was 100% convinced, right? And obviously this shows you if they're a bit open-minded or not. You know, obviously if they say 100%, they're not open-minded. They're stuck in the globe, right? And then the other question is, what's gonna stop you from looking into this, right? But that's obviously if the conversation's going honest, then you can ask that question after, like, oh, what would stop you from looking into this subject, right? Then you could probably get an answer of, you know, of what it is. I mean, most people would say that, oh, well, yeah, I just have to, you know, spend too much time in school, you know, I have homework, I have work, you know, I'm dealing with day-to-day life, and that's why I wouldn't look into it, right? The reality is that most people wouldn't look into it because they're scared to get ridiculed. You know, that's the fact. They think it's so silly that even looking into it, I'm gonna feel stupid. That's where it goes. That's what that means. Like, you know, I don't want to look into it. I don't want to be that person that's looking into flat Earth. Like, what? I don't, you know, I'm gonna feel stupid if I start looking into flat Earth, right? Like, yeah, that's true, because flat Earth is stupid, especially, you know, the motionless flat Earth. You know, first of all, the Earth is not flat. You know, there's high points and low points, and it's level because it's in motion, which by default means it's not motionless. You can't be claiming the Earth is level and motionless. Like, what? I would say the Earth is level and motionless. Okay, it's level relative to what? You know, it's level relative to what? Okay, and if you're gonna make claim is it's relative to the electrostatic flow, right? Okay, reorientate water for me using electrostatics, using this magical invisible flow, you know, that you're claiming creates this. You know, use this invisible flow of electrostatics to reorientate water, because I can easily reorientate water. Easy. Here you go. Water's level this way, and now it reorientates towards the back, you know. And if I continue this constant acceleration, the water will level out relative to the motion, you know. Again, very, very simple stuff. Again, water reorientates relative to the motion. Again, water requires an external force or an external motion to orientate water. You know, it's literally that simple. You know, so yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and let me see. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Like, when people are just like making claims, like their beliefs, and it's like for example, like she said that the lunar eclipse makes her believe the Earth is a ball, and it's like, what? That's like saying like Santa Claus is real because I see a light in the sky move, you know, on the 24th of December. You know what I'm saying? It's like saying, oh, I see a light in the sky, you know, every December 24th. Therefore, Santa Claus is real. That's the same logic that these people are using. Like, you know, it's bizarre. You know, it's like, It's pretty crazy, man. Like how people could jump from one thing to prove something else when it has nothing to do with it. Like literally have nothing to do with it. Again, it's just their assumptions. Like, oh, that light, well, Santa Claus, delivers presents, and on the 24th, so that light must be Santa Claus, right? Oh, there's a curved shadow, that must be the Earth's shadow. Like, oh my God. Again, looking at the sky, looking at the stars, looking at the moon, and observing the phenomenon that we see proves nothing about the ground or the dimensions of the ground that we're standing on. It's a red herring. It's irrelevant. It's not it's not a good proof. It's not a proof at all. It's an observation of the luminaries. I could say that round shape, it's God's ass. He has a round ass, right? It's God's ass. He's outside of the earth, somehow, or and that shadow, it's every time that he goes to the toilet, and we get a glimpse of like, what the fuck? Like, oh my God, it's so stupid. Like, whatever. I even got a little frustrated there. I'm not gonna lie, when I said whatever, like, I usually don't get frustrated like that, but it was just, oh man, it's so crazy. Like even the first conversation, the guy started off a little bit defensive, which I get it, people can get defensive, but to stick to your nonsense to the end, like, it's fucking insane. Like, that's crazy. That just shows you're committed to your belief, if that's not a religious zealot, I don't know what is, Oh, sorry. This is ridiculous. Well, I got way more conversations than I thought, that's for sure. And this is what happened with that last conversation too, which I actually don't like. She's the one that took a picture of the table and took a flyer. So she already knew what the topic was about before I even got to present the questions. So when she came to the table, I guarantee you she didn't even read none of the proofs. She just read the title, Earth is not a ball. And I guarantee she didn't even read none of the, none of the proofs, right? She just came back to the table. I was already having a conversation with someone else, so she already knows what the topic's about to top it off, and she literally just had a preconceived bias. She came back here, in my opinion, again, I can't prove this, to try and prove me wrong. In other words, to try and prove reality wrong. And it's pretty crazy how she kept asking, like, oh, how do you prove to me that it's the Earth pushing up on you? And I'm telling her, buoyancy. The inanimate matter cannot move on its own. So the air pressure, air pushing up on the helium, again, the air has to be pushed as well. Just like I recreated with the van example. The van is accelerating the air, is pushing the air, and then the air now has direction, it has orientation, and now it's able to push the less dense helium in that same direction. Again, that is what we call buoyancy. Buoyancy, and it's an effect of a contained system that's in motion. Again, I kept telling her that because we have experienced buoyancy here on Earth, that's what shows me, that's how I measured or detect that the Earth is in motion. She kept asking, well, how do you detect or how do you measure that the Earth is pushing up? Buoyancy. You let a helium balloon, what direction does it go? Up. That's showing you the direction of the force. Again, force is motion. So I kept telling her that buoyancy shows me it's a measure of the motion. And then she kept saying, well, you need to tell me. I just told you. Like, what? That was fucking insane. I couldn't believe it. It's just that she didn't like that answer last week because it's too simple. It's too easy. It's so simple to understand that, yeah, the Earth has to be pushing on the air and the air pushes on the helium. It's very simple. It's a chain reaction of motion. It's motion transfer. So again, matter cannot move on its own. And the fact that she was kind of denying that too, like, whoa. Pretty sad though, that's all I could say. Fuck. It was It's a little frustrating, that's for sure. Again, I can only learn from these. I have to, when people bring up gravity, I have to refine. I need to refine my fucking, I guess how I'm wording it, you know, how I'm leading up to gravity not being a force, you know, but yeah. That's that. Again. Yeah, that's what I always do with the questions. But this student, I guess, they came and took a picture of the table, and I asked them if they wanted to have, you know, wanted to do the questions, and they said that no, that I don't know, for whatever reason, maybe they had class, whatever. So I gave them a flyer. I gave her a flyer. It was a girl. So right then and there, she knew what this topic was about. So she's the one that actually came back with all of her preconceived beliefs, and basically try to prove me wrong, I guess, in a way. Which, I mean, obviously she completely failed. And she kept asking me for proof that the Earth is pushing up, and I kept telling her that buoyancy shows me that. Buoyancy is the effect of a contained system that's in motion, and if you claim that buoyancy is something else, it's the effect of a pulling force, for example, then you need to demonstrate that, just like I did with the cargo van. Again, the container being the cargo van in motion creates that pressure gradient in the air, creates the pressure that's able to push the helium in that same direction, you know. So again, if you claim that buoyancy is something else, either gravity or electrostatics that somehow pulls the air down but is also pushing up, then you need to recreate that claim. You know what I'm saying? And I could have easily just told her that, well, you need an experiment to recreate that. And what are they gonna do? Just like Neil deGrasse Tyson. Well, here's gravity. See, I could drop something and then helium balloon goes up, you see? There's gravity working in two directions at once. And it's like, whoa, you can't take what we're claiming is the effect of what's being in question. You can't take what's being in question and use that as your proof. You know, that's retarded. You need another experiment taking these same substances and recreating these effects. You know, you're gonna need to recreate the experiment using the same substances and getting the same effects by your supposed claimed cause. You know, I claim that it's the contained system that's in motion creating all these effects, and I have a practical demonstration for it. Again, these people that claim that, oh, it's gravity or it's electrostatics or it's RDD and all this bullshit, well, reorientate density and buoyancy in any other direction using your proposed claim or your supposed claim, in other words, you know. The fact is you can't, you know, because the only force that exists is motion, something pressing on something else to cause it to move. Helium doesn't move itself. It requires the air to push it, and the air doesn't push itself either. It requires something else to push it. You know, it's literally that simple. And people hate simplicity, you know. We know this. People hate simplicity, and they rather opt in for complicated equations and fairy tale stories about their existence than actually accepting the simple facts. And that's just the reality when it comes to almost every subject, you know. You know, even the economy is a shit show, you know. Nobody actually understands how the economy works, you know, but people like to opt in for systems like that, you know, opposed to just starting from scratch and making it simple, you know. But again, the globe Earth is a shit show. Motionless flat Earth, no different, you know. Again, if you're claiming either or, you're a dishonest person, you're not honest with yourself, and you are spreading your mental illness, you know, and that's all that's happening, you know. And I get nothing personal towards anybody, you know. I'm just calling out the claims, you know. So that's gonna be it for this one, and yeah, thanks for everybody that showed up, and hopefully the next one goes a bit better. I mean, what are you gonna do, right? All right, peace.